I ain't scared of you motherfuckers. I'm gonna tell you something straight off the motherfucking press. I ain't coming for no foolishness. I ain't scared of you motherfuckers. I'm gonna tell you something straight off the motherfucking press. I ain't coming for no foolishness. I ain't scared of you motherfuckers. I'm gonna tell you something straight off the motherfucking press. I ain't coming for no foolishness.
Peace, family, peace, family, peace, family. What's going on? Poor City coming right back at y'all with this African history, culture, and greatness. I hope all y'all doing all right out there. I really, really do. Today is the day, y'all. We are having a YouTube jihad on the information. This is a long time coming. The title of this presentation is How Islam Enslaved Black Africa. You got the crew waiting, Mo, and I believe Susan's going to show up as well. Go ahead and get your roll you up something nice, pull you something up real smooth, and just sit. Make sure you share this. Make sure you hit the like button. All right. I'm going to bring Mo Fax up to the out the green room, and he's going to be the first one to go over his presentation. So if you don't mind giving him his, your undivided attention, I'm gonna get him on up right now. We got a lot of information to kind of pack in for you guys today. What's up, Mo? Your audio.
All right, y'all. Peace. Y'all hear me?
Yeah, you good, man. It's been a long time. We got Smack in the motherfucking chat. What's up, Smack? We see you, bro. Tell everybody we here.
Shout out to Smack, what it is. Hey, I just want to give y'all a quick heads up. This shit is going to be graphic. It's going to be real graphic, and I'm not about to do no browsing, skimming over anything. People saying that this shit didn't happen, we don't need to gloss over anything. We're going to get straight to it. Yeah. And I'm not going to go all the way into these things. I'm going to just give you enough to understand what happened. And then from there, y'all can go get the same material, article, book, whatever, and go finish it your damn self. It's something I think that we should be reading, especially if your children are mature enough. You should also let them read it as well so they can understand what the fuck happened. Because this is the type of stuff that you about to see is the type of shit that they, this is what was going to happen. This is what they're trying to avoid. And when you're dealing with the Islamic slave trade, it's so long and extensive, right? That we don't need European sources. We don't have to have European sources for this shit. These are the people speaking for themselves. These are narratives from the people who experience what they experience. So I don't know why they wanted to do this. We tried to warn them, but you know how we are. As soon as you keep on saying something over and over, we just start, dreaming of the push over here. We start dreaming like you guys want to come to YouTube. We start inviting you to different cookouts and stuff to see where you're at. So I hope y'all show up. If y'all see them over there wandering around on TikTok selling these weird ass drugs to people, tell them to come on over here, because we would all smoke. Whatever you got, we buying it. We want to purchase any type of thing that could be smoked. Anything that puts smoke in the air, we want that type of shit. And especially the people who said it didn't happen. I seen y'all earlier. Y'all were live on a couple of different lives. So I don't know what the hell y'all waiting for. We told y'all Saturday pull up, and a lot of y'all said yes. And it's looking like y'all actually knew what the fuck was going on, and you bluffed, but we not bluffing. Yeah. So
you guys are all
go ahead, Port. Tell me when you're ready.
Section. Go ahead, bro.
Go ahead and talk. I got two verses I need to pull up real quick.
Okay, yeah, no doubt, man. Yeah, all of y'all are cordially invited to the smoking section. If you subscribe to this fate, you might want to get out the kitchen because it's about to get real ugly right now. We're just working on the information. Thank you guys for all showing up. Thank you guys for hitting the like button. We've been up all night just kind of trying to get a nice presentation to you guys. And we appreciate it. We definitely appreciate it. We really do.
Word.
Shout out
to Suit live yet?
I have last time I checked, he wasn't. I know I started like an hour late, y'all. I apologize. Normally I'm between 1 and 3 Eastern Standard Time when I push, but I've been hella busy, so forgive me. But I don't see him online. He ain't on right now. I'm sure he'll get on and give us some a little win in our sails. But peace to the chat, peace to everybody that has came in. You guys are definitely in the right spot. If you guys have been cheated out on your history lessons, welcome to the push. Mo getting this screen so I can share it here in a minute. Peace to everybody. Smack, I saw you. Kanisha, we see you in there. We appreciate the support. What is this volume? What, like this volume 13, technically? Right?
Yeah, because we ain't want to count the other one as a push. That wasn't really a push.
I'm gonna change it. I'm gonna put volume 13 because we need to know, because we still pushing. May the push be with all of you.
Okay, we good now. Let's go ahead and inject this job. Well, first let me see if it'll let me share it. If not, we're gonna do it the other way.
Oh shit, Rob is in the house. Knights of the Push. There you go. We got Sharonda in the house too. Shout out to Sharonda. I hope you got your necklace. I'm sorry it took me so long to mail them joints out. My man got his joint. If y'all want any more of these, go to portcity.com and I will gladly send one your way. I appreciate the support. Peace to you, Sharonda. Peace to everybody.
Did that work?
Yeah, I see you, bro. You up there.
Oh shit. Okay.
Push. Push
there
it.
We go.
Y'all, I'm telling y'all better roll up and get you some brown liquor. This is a brown liquor push right here.
Okay, yeah. That's where we at now.
Oh shit! You got it.
Hold on.
Oh, it's about to be ugly.
This is bad. I'm trying to figure out where to start. Where am I going to jump right here? Then I got to go down into that. Then I come back right here. All right, boom. And then there's an article. All right, I think I got my order right. So we're going to start off here. I mean, if y'all was on TikTok, y'all seen these arguments. this is what these people wanted to get into. And so, I mean, we don't have no choice but to, keep it funky, just like we keep it with everybody else. And we're going to tell every piece of this, where it's important at. The only part that you're going to see me skip over is the parts that are just like common sense. It's common knowledge, whatever. But the parts that I'm going to really dig into is the ones that we were arguing about on TikTok. I really don't care about the other stuff involving the different Christians claiming that they saved the slaves, and this because people who are both fighting against each other in religion, they're going to always make the other one look bad, and that's the technique I tell y'all to use. Always look for the enemy to expose the other person, right? They will expose their enemy all the time. So Islam, in this case, they're going to expose Christianity. In this case, Christians are going to expose Islam and make themselves look good. And if we show the Christian side, of course, as you've seen before, they'll make Islam look bad. They'll make the Muslims will make Christianity look bad and then make themselves look good. All right. So you're going to hear that there were no abolitionists in Islam, which is a lie. There were abolitionists in Islam, and y'all know I don't fuck with it, so I have no problem telling the truth about that. But you're going to hear that in different parts in here. You're going to see that they're saying, they never tried to abolish slavery, so that they're more wicked than the Christian slave traders, whatever. But we know that's not the case. So I don't want y'all to fall into that type of shit and actually, start believing the bullshit. These are just two people fighting for the minds of our people. So that's why they try to make each other look bad. But I use both of them against each other. So with that being said, y'all see this title. I know I'm sorry that I tried to get a different cover, but I couldn't, find one. It's hard to read, but I'm gonna read it to you. It's Slavery, Terrorism, and Islam, the Historical Roots and Contemporary Threat. Okay, by Peter Hammond, foreword by George Grant. All right, the first part I want y'all to see in this book is the Scourge of Slavery section. It says, while much has been written concerning the transatlantic slave trade, my bad, I forgot my retainer.
Gotta push that out.
Yeah, gotta push that motherfucker retainer out. My bad, y'all. All right. While much has been written concerning the transatlantic slave trade, surprisingly little attention has been given to the Islamic trade across the Sahara, the Red Sea, and the Indian Ocean. While the European involvement in the transatlantic slave trade to the Americas lasted for just over 3 centuries, the Arab involvement in the slave trade has lasted 14 centuries, and in some parts of the Muslim world is still continuing to this day. That is one of the reasons why we be so pissed about this shit. Because whether we're talking about the slave trade with the transatlantic, or we're talking about the Islamic slave trade, our people all over the world are still being affected by it. And as we get into these narratives, because we're going to get into what the people said and what they're still saying today in recent times, we can go back a little bit, but I'm going to bring you back up to today where shit is still happening. And you're going to see how even the belief itself played a part in our people turning into sitting ducks. It played a part in our children being raised after being groomed into these beliefs. They didn't even know who the fuck they were. They go back and see their people and they see strangers because of their belief. They don't see their brothers and sisters. Okay. This is a little map, that shows the different conquests. And the starting point, I was trying to look for where the starting point is. I know Port had brought it up where it first started at, and he'll eventually point that out. He can point it out again. So I'm not gonna go where it starts at, but you can see the different areas that they conquered and where they traveled at. Okay. Hold on.
Yeah. And family, we want you guys to understand this stuff came in from the east and the north.
Yeah, there you go. So that's over here.
Yeah, along the Red Sea initially.
Okay, yeah.
Right up there between the Horn and where Egypt flowers out at.
Okay, gotcha.
Mm-hmm. Push.
Now, Contrast in captivity. A comparison of the Islamic trade to the American slave trade reveals some interesting contrasts. While 2 out of every 3 slaves shipped across the Atlantic were men, the proportions were reversed in the Islamic slave trade. 2 women for every man were enslaved by the Muslims. While the mortality rate for slaves being transported across the Atlantic was so high as 10%, the percentage of slaves dying in transit in the Trans-Sahara and East African slave trade was between 80 and 90%. While almost all the slaves shipped across the Atlantic were for agricultural work, most of the slaves destined for the Muslim Middle East were for sexual exploitation as concubines in harems and for military service. Keep those things in mind when we're having these arguments about why people look how they look. When, as we brought up in the past, and Port will probably bring it up again, how they was chopping the Jimmy Jams off, right? The concubines, the harems, and the military service. Think about when you're breeding. Think about maintaining your seed, and think about the mind of a child being raised up with a militant mind. For who? Are you going to take a child and raise him up with a militant mind so that he can protect the village that they just raided? How are you raising him up? This is where you get the people who start talking about but there were black people involved in the slave. Hey, that was a black man that was doing that. Of course, these were little children that were taken and groomed. That's what they were used for. The women were used for what they were used for, and the men were used for what they were used for. They're still muscle. They weren't just telling them to work. This is a different type of slave trade. Okay. Now let's go to the next part. While most slaves who went to the Americas could marry and have families, most of the male slaves destined for the Middle East slave bazaars were castrated, and most of the children born to women were killed at birth. It is estimated that possibly as many as 11 million Africans were transported across the Atlantic, 95% of which went to South and Central America, mainly to Portuguese, Spanish, and French possessions. Only 5% of the slaves went to the U.S. Excuse me. However, at least 28 million Africans were enslaved in the Muslim Middle East, as at least 80% of those captured by Muslim slave traders were calculated to have died before reaching the slave markets. It is believed that the death toll from the 14 centuries of Muslim slave raids into Africa could have been over 112 million. When added to the number of those sold in the slave markets, the total number of African victims of the trans-Saharan and East African slave trade could be significantly higher than 140 million people. Here goes some of their artwork and shit. And I want to jump into this real quick because it's going to build some context, because I don't want to just, how they be telling us, oh no, they did that, but that ain't what the book said. They weren't real Muslims. They were fake Muslims who was really. We're going to show you the psychology. Now, what I will give you, I give Islam this all the time. They got a better monotheistic setup, and they have a better psychological approach. But there are key things that you pay attention to in any religious text. And if you focus on that and leave the angels and the jinn and the demons and the afterlife and the creating of the heavens and the earth and all of the prophets and all, leave that shit the fuck alone and just listen to what the hell the person is telling you. There is no authority. Think this is a man writing. That's all we know. Book. Man writes books. That's it. We don't know no gods. We don't know no angels. We don't know none of that shit. So once you erase all of that and just focus on what's being said, keep that in mind as we maneuver through what was going on, because we're about to get into some more details of how these people were acting, their behaviors, right? This is, damn, which one is this? Surah 22:19. It says these two antagonists dispute with each other about their Lord, but those who deny their Lord, for them will be cut out a garment of fire. Over their heads will be poured out boiling water. Now, we don't know nothing about no hell. So somebody would probably say, as you've heard before, oh, that's in the afterlife. That's later. It doesn't exist. This place does not exist. What does exist is boiling water in real life. Okay. A person's head exists and they're alive to feel the pain of boiling water. That's why that's important. Their garments of fire. These things are real. So while you're talking and you're trying to make someone think that you're talking about something in some other world, you have men who are alive reading these things that are relative to their reality. So psychologically, eventually, when someone keeps chanting this shit over and over and over, and these people were made to memorize it. I've seen a 6-year-old recite this whole goddamn thing. I didn't watch the whole video. The nigga was for hours. He just sitting there reciting the shit. So this is being chanted and put into the mind of the people. Remember that there's no proof of the God. There's no proof of the angel. There's nothing. There's just these men. So who's going to carry out these acts eventually after you keep hearing that mantra? We do it with music, right? We do it with music. Music does that, doesn't it? Huh? Even for you to lay down your verse, you got to keep memorizing it. You got to keep saying it over and over and over. And then eventually you can just lay that whole thing out. Certain instances where something happens in life, what do? We go back to the music that was in our head and we line it up. We'll say a couple bars from what somebody said and then make that relevant to our reality. Or some people act off of it because that was, going on in their head. The same thing happens in religion. These are literally bars. They're verses. If we talk about the verses in the music, programming people, how the fuck is this not programming people? It's just old school, brainwashing. So next is this the same chapter? 22, 20. I think this is the same one. Okay. Allah will admit those who believe and work righteous deeds to gardens beneath which rivers flow. They shall be adorned therein with bracelets of gold and pearls, and their garments there will be of silk. So here's this reward system thing. There's this reward. Excuse me, y'all. Oh shit! Hold on. Real quick. Give me a second. Wait, actually, well, I got enough charge. Never mind. So this is the reward, right here. Now check this out. That's the reward. As those who have rejected Allah and would keep back men from the way of Allah and from the sacred mosque, which we have made open to all men equal, is the dweller there and the visitor from the country, and any whose purpose therein is profanity wrongfully, them will we cause to taste of the most grievous chastisement. Who the fuck is we? Who is that? Are they going to tell you it's God and the angels talking? It's Allah and the angels? Who is we? Erase all of the mythological creatures and shit and just focus. There are people reading this. We. It's just us, right? It's just humans. Insects and animals don't even read this shit. But I would say these motherfuckers are animals when we get into what we get into later. So I'm wrong on that part. But look, it says, them will we cause to taste of a most grievous chastisement. See, now keep repeating that shit over and over and over and over and over. What you going to get? Eventually, something going to go down. This is section 36, 34. What is this? Hold on, y'all. Let me check because I got to get the exact one. I got to cut off. And our protectors.
No doubt. Keep pushing.
Oh, yeah. I don't know why I cut the top out of that. Let me find the exact verse real quick. Bear with me.
Take your time, brother. The push continues. Hey, thank you to everybody that has stopped by. We just now getting warmed up. Volume 13. Islam is on trial today, right now, y'all.
All right, I got it. It's Surah 30. It's Surah 434. Yeah, 434. All right, let me get back to the PowerPoint. My bad, y'all, for cutting that out. Men are the protectors and the maintainers of women because Allah has given the one more strength than the other, and because they support them from their means. Therefore, the righteous women are devoutly obedient and guard in the husband's absence what Allah would have them guard. Now let's go down. As to those women on whose part ye fear disloyalty and ill conduct, admonish them first. Next, refuse to share their beds. And last, beat them. And look, let me blow this up so you can see what this shit says. Lightly. Y'all see that?
Oh, yeah.
That's the important part when you have discussions with these people. That's the part. It says lightly.
Oh, it says lightly.
Yeah, you beat them lightly. So, and I learned that there's a reason why I use this one specifically, because someone said that they pushed my shit in because they pulled up this version, and the translation I had just said beat them. He gave me this version and he thought that was going to do something, so I said, okay, I'll just start using that. Beat them lightly. Right, well, here's the problem. You're not supposed to beat your woman.
Yeah, it's never good.
Once you open the door, what do we tell our cousins and best friends, or our friends, our girlfriends, and
don't put your hands on
you cannot, don't let him put his hands on you one time. Not one time. He can't put his finger on your forehead. That's a red flag.
Lightly, though. Lightly. Hey, Mo, I got a real question. I know you're pushing. Is there somewhere in there where it says you can beat your wife with nothing bigger than the size of your thumb or some shit like that? Is that in there?
That one, there is something in there. There's a word that it uses, and I think it's in a different version. I think it's actually this verse, but it's a different version.
Oh, okay.
If I'm not mistaken, but I'll check when I'm done and you going. I'll go check on it. And see.
Curious about that joint, but go
ahead.
But
I ran into them saying that too. They was like, no, with an object no thicker than your finger. Yeah, I seen that. Yeah, they've brought that up before too. So yeah, that's the point though. It's wrong. Beating someone, period, right? So this is how they're treating their women. I want you to pay attention to this before we get into this very graphic shit. And once you see how they're supposed to treat their women, and I go down a few more verses, and you see how they have slaves, and he's telling you, how to treat the slave as well. That's where the problem lies. You're not supposed to have a slave. You're not supposed to beat your woman. And since you have a slave and you can beat your woman, common sense would tell you can definitely beat a motherfucking slave. So this is the problem that people are not catching on to. It's like, I don't know why it's not sinking in. What it should say is, when you see a slave, find out who their master is and off with their head. But that would be a hero, right? That would be the hero. If you see a man beating his woman lightly, push his shit in heavily, right? That would be the hero. But somehow this, I don't know, that's what it is. But hey, if that's what you want to follow, cool. But we just talking about the truth about it. You can keep on following it. That's your thing. Do what you do. Just don't do that shit to no women in my family, or lightly or anything. This is, damn, I got another one cut off. I am fucking up today. Let me find this, y'all. The woman, man. The woman. Oh, I ain't gonna find it that way. Let me get a keyword out of here real quick. Prescribed by law. Witness their punishment. That should pull it up. Bear with me. Witness. Come on, man. Witness against themselves. Witness their enduring punishment. Come on, come on. Witness guardian. Yeah, almost there. There we go. Witness their punishment. All right, this is Surah 24, verse 2. Okay. Back to the PowerPoint. The woman and the man guilty of fornication, flog each of them with 100 stripes. See? You're already beating your wife lightly. Now you're beating other people because of what they're doing in their own private abodes. The woman and man guilty of fornication, flog each of them with 100 stripes. Let not compassion move you in their case in a matter prescribed by Allah, if ye believe in Allah and the last day, and let a party of believers witness their punishment. So they want everybody to see this shit. They want you to see what's going to happen to you if you do what that person did. Yeah. Gang members do that shit. Something's wrong, right? This is Surah 24, 31. Their beauty, except to their husbands. This is well, it talked about who can look at the woman. Basically, they before this one, I think in 30, 30, it's saying 30 and I think 29. It's telling a woman about being covered up and all of that shit, but it was really long. But it's basically saying, you know, cover yourself with a veil and don't let them see your goodies and all that shit. But it says their beauty, except to their husbands, their fathers, their husbands, fathers, their sons, their husbands' sons, their brothers, or their brothers, or their sisters' sons, or their women, or the slaves. There goes those slaves. So again, we're hearing someone talking about slaves like it's just, this is Allah talking. Remember, it's not like the Bible. So as they have these improvements with shit, I'm gonna take out all the prophets and all of these people having possessions and talking to angels and going up and coming back down with scrolls they ate and spitting them back up and going into a trance and hands writing on walls. They took all of that spookism out. Salute to you. I'm glad you did it, right? But then there lies another fucking problem because you're still full of shit. The God is still not here talking, and none of it, we don't know the prophet. But through this goddamn text, so again, all we have is these men, and technically the prophet is a man. So I mean, he's a special man. So here we go again with people talking about the slaves as if it's a normal thing, or their sisters, sons, their women, or the slaves whom their right hand possess. You don't possess no slaves. God has come down and given us word. The creator of the universe has come down. Something greater than us has come down. This needs to stop. Humans figured it out that we need to stop this shit. How the hell can a hippo would catch some weird activity and go protect somebody? Dolphins do it. Dogs do it. God, the creator of the universe, comes down and he's like, hey, cover your body. Don't let nobody see it. Your brothers and everything, and the people on your privacy, they can see certain things, but the other people can't. And your slaves, why do we still have slaves? You came down here after all this shit we've been fucking up with, and you didn't tell nobody that we need to stop doing this. You're telling us what to do with the slaves. We possess slaves? From where? Or male attendants free of sexual desires. These male attendants can also be translated as servants, workers. So the people who try to say a slave was just a worker, a servant. No, it's separating the two. Or the slaves whom their right hand possess, or male attendants free of sexual desires, or small children who have no carnal knowledge of women. These things are all separated. So you can play them games with somebody else, but my reading comprehension is very good. So I know exactly what the fuck this shit is saying. You can fool somebody else with that shit. It's in your book. Okay? Kill disbelievers wherever you find them. If they attack you, then kill them. Such is the reward of disbelievers. That is the Quran. That is 2:191. Now, people's excuse, as you have heard, is that, oh, they said if they attack you. Well, it says also in other parts, if they attack your faith. that you can unalive them. So it's not only talking about attacking you there. Then in other parts of the book, it also tells you that if you see somebody attacking, if someone is you can't kill anybody near the sacred mosque. You can't kill anyone near the sacred mosque. Let me pull this up real quick, because I did forget to put that in there. Sacred mosque. Let's jump to this real quick. Sacred mosque. The different angles in it. Let's try to find it with sacred. It's maybe sacred. Bear with me, y'all. I just did this one on the fly.
It's all good. May the push be with you. Everybody, if you have not hit the like button, go ahead and hit that like button. Get this algorithm jumping. Tell everybody on TikTok to come on over. I know y'all got a TikTok addiction. Y'all need to let it go.
Facts. Sacred history. Sacred. This will hinder you from the sacred mosque, and sacrificial animals detained from reaching their place of sacrifice had there not been believing men and believing women whom you did not know that were trampling down. No, that's not it. Sacred mosque, truly did Allah fulfill the vision of his messenger. You shall enter the sacred mosque. That's not it either. I might have to paraphrase this, y'all. Hold on. Damn. Sacred mosque. It's in a direction. No, it's praying. Sacred mosque. At the sacred mosque. Oh, there we go. All right, so this is Surah 2, 190. Let's go up a little bit. 190. This is 190. Matter of fact, I don't want y'all to trust me. I want y'all to see it. So I'm gonna go ahead and let me try to do this real quick for like 10 seconds. Come on now, give me some Spanish. Let me paste this into this PowerPoint here. Copy this. Duplicate. Oh, and I got one more screenshot. My bad, y'all. I just thought about this, that this was actually relevant. And thank y'all for bringing this bullshit up, because y'all made me read the Quran even more. Like, I had a little like 10 piece in my arsenal and shit from the 30 pages I read. But I went deeper into the motherfucking. It's just shit everywhere. Shit all in there. And so salute to y'all.
Facts.
Who the funk it? Okay, so am I on the right? Y'all can see this, right? What I just put in here?
Yeah, you section 24.
Section 24. Yep. All right, boom. So we good. Now, right here it says, they asked thee concerning the new moons, say they are but signs to mark the fixed periods of time in the affairs of men, and for pilgrimage. It is no virtue of ye if ye enter your houses from the back. It is virtue if ye fear Allah, enter houses through the proper doors, and fear Allah, that ye may prosper. Fight in the cause of Allah, those who fight you, but do not transgress limits. For Allah loveth not transgressors, right? And this area right here is their excuse for basically if you hit me, if you punch me, then I'm just supposed to punch you and then stop. That's it. That's all I'm supposed to do, right? That's the same things that we see in the Bible. The same shit is in there, but then somewhere else it'll tell you just some off the wall shit that's supposed to be in there. So don't be surprised by that. Hold on. Let me go and slay them wherever ye catch them and turn them out. But how can you slay someone wherever you catch them? How does that make any sense? I'm just supposed to attack you, and then we're supposed to have an even match, and that's supposed to be the end of it, right? How are you going to slay them wherever they catch you? Can they kill you and then you kill them? How does that even work? How do you kill someone who killed you? You got to think. You can't kill. If someone killed you, you can't kill them. It doesn't work that way. And slay them. Go ahead.
My bad. I mean, can you show that bigger than what you're showing it? I think the audience is not seeing it.
Blow this up a little bit more.
Yeah, I think they need to see it. There you go. Can y'all see that better, y'all? Let us know. I mean, I can see it. I just want to make sure they can too.
All right, but
you good. You good on mine.
All right, and slay them wherever ye catch them, and turn them out from where they have turned you out. For persecution is worse than slaughter, but fight them not at the sacred mosque, unless they first fight you there. If they first fight you at the sacred mosque, then you can fight them there. But if they fight you, slay them. Such is the reward of those who reject faith. There goes that specification on faith. Why are we dealing with belief? It's just we have these laws everywhere. We have self-defense all over the world. Even the most ancient people all over the world have self-defense. Why are we including faith here? This is what opens this door for where you hear this talk of you attacking my faith, you going to hell. Well, you would say that in my faith. You see how they go crazy? We're talking about a fucking fairy tale book. We all agree that if someone does something to you, do something back to them. But what are we talking about faith for? What are we talking about them rejecting the faith? Such as a reward for those who reject the faith? No, you were just defending yourself from someone who just attacked you, right? You're opening little doors in people's minds subconsciously because you're actually fighting for a faith. That's why it keeps ending. Every time we see some violent shit, some pagans attacking the Kafirs or whatever, at the end of it, it's bragging about, well, yeah, that's what they deserve. And that's what they get for being non-believers. Because the whole thing is based off of you attacking people who don't believe what you believe. That's where the tension is coming from in the first place. Remember, these things are written after people are already professing what they believe. Muhammad didn't just fall out the sky and just go, oh, Islam. Islam was in the works. They were already fighting with these people, and then they wrote this text. That's what happened. So the faith is already a problem. These people are already an enemy. So all of that innocent people and all this shit, you already have an enemy in your head before the book was written. So when they start writing this shit, you know who they're telling you to go after. Okay. So yeah, that was part of, oh wait, I blew it up too much. Right there. Okay. And this goes in further detail, right? Those who make, am I allowed to move this over? I can read that. Those who make war with Allah and his messenger will be killed or crucified or have their hands and feet on alternate sides cut off or will be expelled out of the land. That is how they will be treated in this world, and in the next, they will have an awful doom. Well, here's the problem again. Allah is not here. His messenger is not here. Get rid of those characters and then read it again. Those who make war against Islamic people will be killed and crucified. There is no Allah. There's no messenger. We don't have proof of it. They may be busy right now doing something, creating another universe and sending messengers to some other beings, right? They're busy. We don't have no proof of this. So all we know is that these men are telling you what the hell they're going to do to you if you don't fucking believe in their fucking fairy tale. That is what's happening. Get rid of the mythological characters and it will all be clear to you. Trust me. This is a rule of thumb. You can apply this formula to any type of belief system where it's telling you to attack someone. Whoever thinks that Allah will not assist him in this life and hereafter, let him stretch a rope to the ceiling, then let him hang himself. Then let him see if his struggle will take away that at which he is enraged. I don't have anything to say about that. Now let's get into some more details. And my dumb ass forgot to put the goddamn title of the book. How'd that happen? Well, no, I didn't, because that's coming from this book. I think I'm just bouncing back. Let me double check, though. Let me double check real quick and make sure I'm actually bouncing back to the same book. Peter Hammond. Slavery, terrorism. Yep. All right. So I'm still in the same book. I'm just bouncing back. All right. Now, y'all got a lot of the groundwork, the little chants and shit that people hear in their mind. This is what people are reading. And you see how many times you heard we. Allah is one person, right? One being. Where did the fucking we come from? That's for the reader. That's for the group. That's for the congregation. When they're reading and they're saying it to the people, we and we, that's Allah speaking. There is no we, right? Allah just gave a message to Gabriel to give to Muhammad, and Muhammad gave it to his consorts, and the consorts became the scribes, and the scribes wrote that shit down, right? And then on and on and on. Who the fuck is we? They're talking about the readers. And you about to see who this we is, actually. The absence of Arabic abolitionists, and this is what I was telling you about this cap. While Christian reformers spearheaded, let me blow this up as much as I can for y'all. While Christian reformers spearheaded the anti-slavery abolitionist movements in Europe and North America, and Great Britain mobilized their navy throughout most of the 19th century to intercept slave ships and set the captives free, there was no comparable opposition to slavery within the Muslim world. That's cap. There's some in there. I'm going to tell you that. I don't fuck with either side of this shit, but I'm going to tell you it is. But you got to be aware of this, because remember, the person that is speaking, they're defending Christianity. That's what they're doing. And then when you read the Muslims' perspective, they're going to point out all of the bad things that the Christians did. That's just how this shit works. So I don't know why they're going that far. They bit off a little more than they could chew. They could have just showed the bad shit and left that alone. That's crazy. But this is what happens, and that's why you got to be careful and not have a bias when you're reading. You got to keep it funky on all ends, right? Even after, because that would do me a good service, but it's going to do a disservice for, intellectual honesty. I would love to say they ain't trying to reform nothing, but I will be lying. You don't need to hold more weight than you already got. You're just going to hold what you have. Your possession is what I'm giving to you. Even after Britain outlawed the slave trade in 1807 and Europe abolished the slave trade in 1815, Muslim slave traders enslaved a further 2 million Africans. This is true, and possibly more. This despite vigorous British naval activity and military intervention to limit the Islamic slave trade. By some calculations, the number of victims of the 14th centuries of Islamic slave trade could exceed 180 million. Nearly 100 years after President Abraham Lincoln issued the Emancipation Proclamation in America, and 130 years after all slaves within the British Empire were set free by the parliamentary decree, Saudi Arabia and Yemen in 1962 and Mauritania in 1980 begrudgingly removed legalized slavery. Legalized slavery. All right, from their statute books. Can I move this up a little bit? Thank you. From their statute books. And this only after international pressure was brought to bear. Today, numerous international organizations document that slavery still continues in some Muslim countries. And we're going to get into that. It's coming. I just wanted to let y'all check that out. An eyewitness account. In 1818, Captain Lyon of the Royal Navy reported that the Al-Mukani in Tripoli waged war on all its defenseless neighbors and annually carried off 4,000 to 5,000 slaves. A piteous spectacle. These poor oppressed beings were, many of them, so exhausted as to be scarcely able to walk. Their legs and feet were much swelled, and by their enormous size formed a striking contrast with their emaciated bodies. Means they were, it was a given that their bodies would look like that, all disfigured. They're all tired from the walking, swelled up. And it goes back into the skinny leg thing that I showed in another presentation, where it talks about the guy with the real skinny ass legs is going to be the one that destroys the Kaaba. If y'all remember that sets off like the end time events, right? And of course they would pick someone that looks like that because these are what their slaves look like. The description of your slaves. So y'all got to pay attention to things and line them up, put 2 and 2 together and see what it's for. They're describing what their slaves look like, and then making a character out of that slave and saying that one day they would destroy. Well, common sense will tell you one day there would be a revolt, right? There is going to be a revolt. And since they know a revolt is going to happen, and it's most likely going to be one of these slaves that are going to disrespect their Kaaba and try to set off a big revolution, they're giving you a heads up. When you see this happen, it's about to go down. No, when you see this happen, pop off. Allah's not going to come back. No angels are coming back. They're telling you to put in that work when that happens, because that means these slaves are about to uprise. You got to pay attention to the psychology behind it. Okay. So exhausted as to be scarcely able to walk, their legs are emaciated bodies. They were all borne down with loads of firewood, and even poor little children worn to skeletons by fatigue and hardships. Worn to skeletons, the skinny leg, dark-skinned Negro, right? Fatigue and hardships were obliged to bear their burden, while many of their inhumane masters with dreadful whips suspended from their waist. All the traders speak of slaves as farmers do of cattle. The defenseless state of the Negro kingdoms to the southward are temptations too strong to be resisted. A force is therefore annually sent to pillage these defenseless people, to carry them off as slaves, burn their towns, kill the aged and infants, destroy their crops, and inflict on them every possible misery. All slavery is for an unlimited time. None of their owners ever move without their whips, which were in constant use. Drinking too much water, bringing too little wood, or falling asleep before cooking was finished were considered nearly capital crimes, and it was in vain for these poor creatures to plead the excuse of being tired. Nothing could withhold the application of the whip. No slaves dared to be ill or unable to walk. But when the poor sufferer dies, the master suspects that there must have been something wrong inside and regrets not having liberally applied their usual remedy of burning the belly with a red hot iron. So again, they're just making up shit again. They start off creeping into your mind subliminally with the different mantras you got to keep saying over and over. And the woman, you shall beat them and do this lightly, and for your slave, Allah Akbar, and they're feeding you the bullshit. And then you just keep building on to the bullshit. I got to do this. I got to treat them this way. This person is impure. You're supposed to be treated as harshly in this world and the next. Now they're doing it to you. The stuff that you heard in the text, now they're doing it to the people. You're going to suffer here in this world. You're going to be miserable in this world. I'm going to treat you harshly in this world. You see how I treat my wife? Who the fuck are you? I'm really going to give it to you. Bismillah. Records for Morocco. Did I skip one? No, I didn't. Records for Morocco in 1876 show the market prices for slaves varied from 10, whatever that is, $48. That's the equivalent of $48, and the 30 is equivalent to 140. Female slaves comprise the vast majority of cells, with attractive virgins fetching between 40 and 80, which is the equivalent of 192 to $386. It was reported that a considerable majority of the slaves crossing the Sahara were destined to become concubines in North Africa, the Middle East, and occasionally even further afield. And you're going to see that once we get into this story of Mindy later. The American slave trade. It is extraordinary that, considering that less than 5% of all the transatlantic slaves ended up in North America, the vast majority of films, books, and articles concerning the slave trade concentrate only on the American involvement in the slave trade, as though slavery was uniquely American aberration. However, the vastly greater involvement of Portugal, Spain, and France seems to be largely ignored. Even more so, the far greater and longer running Islamic slave trade into the Middle East has been so ignored as to make it one of history's best kept secrets. That's why these motherfuckers keep talking to us like we stupid, because they think the shit covered up and they just like, yeah, don't nobody know about this shit. But once you, as you see, when Port, hit you with that 1-2, boop, 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 that's when they start going, oh yeah, that happened. So you helping cover this up. It's a best kept secret. It's not just a secret. There's some secret things that's going on. Like there's some secrets to the sun we don't know about, right? There's some secrets to the oceans we don't know about. But this is a kept secret. Someone's keeping this shit a secret, right? We tend to focus on what happened in North America because the United States would eventually fight a war, in part over slavery and because of the enormous and vocal American opposition to slavery. This was in sharp contrast to the indifference that Muslims, Africans, and many Europeans evidenced towards it. Many chiefs found it more profitable to sell their enemies, criminals, and debtors than kill or imprison them. And this is talking about the African people too, since, we're going to throw this part in there. They're going to love this one. Many were weaker neighboring tribes conquered for the express purpose of selling their people into slavery. The disgraceful fact is that there were three equally guilty partners in the crime of the transatlantic slave trade: pagan African chiefs, Muslim Arabs, and Christian Europeans. The trade, as it became known, involved a triangular voyage. Slave ships sailed from Bristol or Liverpool loaded with clothes, beads, muskets, iron bars, and brandy. The merchandise was then traded in West Africa in exchange for slaves. Mostly chiefs sold their own people or engaged in wars and slave raids against neighboring tribes to capture victims for this trade. Often professional Arab slave traders provided the victims. Okay, so we have went over tons of scholarship showing that it wasn't just a slave people purchasing prisoners of war. So, but I wanted to point this out to show you that people have been putting this stuff in their research material. And that's why you hear other people repeating it when they speak like this, because they're being intellectually dishonest, or they just didn't have that information available, which I checked the date on this book. The information was available. So they just straight up capping because they're trying to out of responsibility that is going to be placed on them. Specifically in this case would be the Christians. Okay. Right here you have 1807, the British Parliament voted to outlaw the slave trade, right? These are, as I've shown you, these are the same people who own slaves. So we don't need to be fooled by these shenanigans, okay? But we're just, for the sake of telling the story, we gotta, talk about these things because they did do it. You just not supposed to be fooled, okay? Wilberforce's War. On Sunday, 28 October 1787, William Wilberforce wrote in his diary, "God Almighty has set before me two great objects, the suppression of the slave trade, and the reformation of society." For the rest of his life, William Wilberforce dedicated his life as a member of the Parliament to opposing the slave trade and working for the abolition of slavery throughout the British Empire. Congratulations. What a great guy, right? They are on to something else, people. We already know what that is. They had something else brewing. They got what they needed. They're like, let's not be greedy. If we keep on going with this shit, somebody else going to be able to be in the same amount, the same position of power that we're in. We need to start becoming the heroes, shut this shit down, go dark with the slave trade, because the shit still continued, and these people who were chasing people around owned slaves themselves. All right, so that clearly was not the case. Plus, we also went over pre-push where they were willing to agree with the abolishment, but they was like, we're going to treat them better. Like we're not going to fully pull out of Africa. We're going to release the slaves and everything, but we're going to continue to build them up because we're just not going to treat them as bad as we treated them before. No, leave these people the fuck alone. That's what you're supposed to be doing. All right. So we don't want to hear all of the, oh, we helped you out and we freed you and made it better. We made it illegal. That's cool. We don't care about no damn paperwork because you're still there. Get the fuck out of there. Sharia law and slavery. Islam's black slaves. Notes, the Quran stipulated that female slaves might lawfully be enjoyed by their masters. Muhammad himself owned many slaves, some of whom he captured in wars of conquest and some he purchased. The names of 40 slaves owned by Muhammad are recorded by Muslim chroniclers. Coincidentally, this is some of the only records we have from the Muslims. The rest of the extensive information actually comes from the Christians. So they could throw that information in the trash and we can just say, because, you know, that's the excuse. They're like, well, the Christians are writing bad things about Muhammad because they don't like him. Well, fine. Let's use your chronicles. Can we use your shit? Huh? Is that good enough for you? Islamic law, Sharia, contains elaborate regulations for slavery. A slave had no right to be heard in court. Testimony was forbidden by slaves. Slaves had no right to property, could marry only with the permission of the owner, and were considered to be chattel. That is the movable property of the slave owner. Muslim slave owners were specifically entitled by Sharia law to sexually exploit their slaves, including hiring them out as prostitutes. We're going to leave that one right there. Fucking geniuses. Y'all should have left us the fuck alone. The Hadith states, no Muslim should be killed for killing a non-Muslim, nor a free man for a slave. And that little depiction up there is a slave set free by the British Navy. Congratulations. You're such great people, man. One reason why very little has been written about let me blow this up for you a little bit. And myself. One reason why very little has been written about the Arab involvement in slavery is that traditional Islamic culture still condones slavery. The Sharia, and you hear the people who are still in Africa, our brothers and sisters over there, still telling us right now on live, like, yo, this shit is still going on. Multiple of them, they're telling you this shit is still happening. So the Sharia law, the codified Islamic law, which is based upon the teachings and example of Muhammad, contains explicit regulations for slavery. One of the primary principles of Islam is following the example of Muhammad. Whatever Muhammad did, you must do. Whatever he forbade, we must forbid. What he did not forbid, we may not forbid. As Muhammad himself traded in slaves and owned slaves, accumulating multiple wives, even marrying a 6-year-old. Hold on. Oh, wait, I'm supposed to grab it and move it up. Marrying a 6-year-old and having concubines, slavery and the sexual exploitation of women is deeply ingrained in Islamic tradition. Muslim nations had engaged in the slave trade for over 600 years before Europe became involved in the transatlantic slave trade. Okay, so shout out to Muhammad. That's your man's in him. Slavery today, almost 200 years after the British outlawed the slave trade in 1807, slave raids and the sale of slaves in Muslim markets continues in countries like the Sudan. We about to get into this later. It's going to get real ugly. So I want y'all to get y'all Kleenexes ready. I already dropped my tears in a bucket and shit. And yeah, this shit is fucked up, right? The slave trade remained legal in Saudi Arabia until 1962, when under international pressure, it was finally abolished. However, there are persistent, credible reports that slavery persists in Mauritania, Libya, Saudi Arabia, and even that slaves from Sudan are ending up in Saudi Arabia. These are facts. Recently, a former slave from the Nuba Mountains of Sudan, Mindy Nazar, or Nazar, if I'm saying that right, had her autobiography, Slave, My True Story, published. She had it published. Mindy was captured in 1992. 1992. 1992.
That's crazy, dog.
I was 3. She was first a slave to a rich Arab family in Khartoum, if I'm saying that right, and then in 2002 to a Sudanese diplomat in London. 2002. 2002. That's crazy. From whom she escaped and sought political asylum. We got runaway slaves in 2002, nigga. They keeping your ass busy, huh? What you busy doing? With your on your knees with your eyes closed, putting your fucking forehead into a carpet? Got a cross on your goddamn neck and you looking up to a fucking weirdo, butt naked, hanging on a fucking cross with pointing his finger at little fucking kids and shit, shooting arrows and fucking shaking on the fucking floor, catching. What the fuck is going on? Nobody's paying attention. So now it's time for the ugly. It's time to get real fucking graphic with this shit. So y'all get brace yourself. Brace yourself. And when y'all hear us talking the way that we talk, this is some of the shit that we got to read. Okay? No, not Peter Hammond. We're looking for Mindy. Let's get the sister up here. Let's get her up here. What is the title? Mindy. What is the name of her book? Yeah. Damn, I got so many tabs open. I keep forgetting them. Slavery. Oh, there we go. Let's go. Okay. Now we doing some raids too. I got my raider attire on right now. Bismillah. Huh? I'm with the hawk spitters. I'm with the hawk spitters right now. We ain't gonna do what you did though, but we're gonna intellectually give you these damn daggers. We're gonna raid you with these books and we're gonna push your shit back like that. But we ain't gonna match evils though. Y'all gonna hold this shit that y'all doing, you gonna hold that. That's your shit. So let's just do this. After dinner, I sat around the fire with my mother. Okay, let me hold on. This is damn, these fucking pages are not numbered. That's all right. I want y'all to see this real quick.
This is from a true story, right? Like
Oh yeah, this is her.
Yeah.
This is her. This is Mindy Nazar. This is her writing.
Damn, man.
Yeah, because these are all European sources.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Slave. My true story.
Wow.
My true story. I don't know why they think people don't write books. I think they think we fucking stupid for some fucking reason. That's why y'all need to get out there and get involved. I don't give a fuck if you writing papers or you reading books or you just buying books, writing books. Get involved in some type of shit in academics, even if you're not in school, because these people really think we stupid. Like express this shit, brag about it. It's okay to be smart because they don't see us in this light. So this stuff just, you see this person's black face and you like, my true story. We wouldn't even think that. They still probably later after seeing this are going to tell me that this was a European source. They just can't accept. A black woman is telling you her goddamn self. This is her on the book. She's saying her name is on it, and it still don't matter, right? So let's get into this ugliness. Let's get into this shit. Yeah, they want to play games, and I told y'all my technique is I'm going straight for the kids. Straight for the motherfucking kids. I don't want you playing no adult games and oh no, they knew and they could have fought back and they could have did. I'm going straight to the fucking children. And they said that there was no, what did they say? That they were buying them from the Chiefs, right? They bought them from the Chiefs. That's what the person just said in that book. So there's another reason why we got to bring this shit up. He pushed his own shit in his own book. This source was in his book. And he said that it's a myth, actually, in another part of his book. He said that the kidnapping and people running to kidnap women and children and men and kids and all that shit, he said it was a myth in that book. Nigga said it was a myth. And then provided a source with a primary source. You can't make this shit up. But it's all good. People do what they do. You know, they're going to cap. so that we can push their shit in. After dinner, I sat around the fire with my mother and father, my brother Babo, and I'm sorry if I'm fucking these names up. I know some of y'all in here, y'all can correct us later. You know, take a screenshot, help us out. We're doing the best we can. Excuse me, with these names. I sat around the fire with my mother and father, my brother Babo, our cow herder Ajeka, and our uncles. It was as clear, cloudless sky, and it was a clear, cloudless sky, and the air was cold. My father was telling a story of why the Nuba never hunt monkeys. Although I had heard it many times before, my father never failed to make me laugh when he told it. Lots of black hairy monkeys lived in the forest around our village, but we never hunted them. My father said that the reason they looked so human was that they once really that they had once really been people, but they had been bad during their lives, so Allah decided to turn them into monkeys. And that's why we never killed them and ate them. After the story, Babel and Ajika disappeared into the men's house to sleep, and we retired to our hut. We talked for a little while, but it was already past 8, and my parents had a hard day in the field. So I got up onto my father's bed, and soon we were all fast asleep. Scroll up a bit. Load up a bit. But deep in the night, I woke up with a start. I sat bolt upright in bed, and I could see that my father and my mother were awake too. We were all straining our ears, trying to work out what had woken us. We could hear the faint, muffled noises of shouting in the distance. My father got up quietly and went to the door. He unlocked the wooden latch and stuck his head outside. My mother and I crept over to join him. We could see flames and hear frightened shouting. The far end of the village was on fire. Harvest time was called Kerengit, if I'm saying that right. The cold term. It was the chilliest, most windy period of the year. People kept fires burning inside their huts to keep themselves warm, but sometimes the fires could catch the dry thatch alight. Whenever there was a fire, everyone in the village would run to help. But as we hurried into the yard, we caught sight of people running away from the fire towards us. Imagine that. Usually in your camp, in your village where you at, when they see a fire, look how detailed she is with this. And I think she's 12 at the time. Look how detailed she is with this. She's usually there's a fire in the village, right? It happens, right? We all run out to help because that happens. We were staying warm and maybe, the thatch caught fire. Everyone runs to help. But when they are going out, she's like, everybody's running away. This is different. Something else is going on here. This is a primary source. Okay. But as we hurried into the yard, we caught sight of people running away from the fire towards us. Immediately, my father knew that something was wrong. But the panicked villagers were still a long way off, and we couldn't make sense of what they were shouting. Then we caught sight of other people dashing through the village with flaming torches in their hands. I watched as one of them thrust a firebrand into the thatch roof of a hut, and the roof burst into flames. As the people inside came rushing out, these men pounced on them, dragged them to the ground, and stabbed them with their knives. Mujahideen, if I'm saying that right. Mujahideen, my father yelled. Arab raiders, the Mujahideen, are in the village. I thought these people were sold. I thought they were sold, sir. Black Indians, white rider, Christian riders. I thought these people were sold. What happened? What had happened? The Mujahideen are coming. That's already a word. It's a thing. The Arab raiders, the Mujahideen, are in the village. I still didn't really understand what was happening. My father grabbed me by the arm and we started to run. But then my father suddenly remembered Babo and Ajeko. Babo, Ajeko, he cried as he looked over at the men's house and then back at the fast approaching rage. He stuck in between the two. I could see he was torn between his desire to warn them and the need to escape. Then he made up his mind. Come on, run, run, he shouted as he urged us on. They'll have to save themselves. I don't want nobody talking about what the fuck they would have did either. My mother had started to cry and I was sobbing violently. Yet we had no choice but to flee. I clutched my father's hand and started running, but the raiders were everywhere, dragging people from their huts. There was no sound of gunfire yet. The raiders were just slicing people across the throat as if they were animals. I saw one father try to save his daughter, but as a raider grabbed him from behind and stabbed him. I could feel my father's grip tighten on my hand as he urged me to run faster. Though the smoke and flames, I could see that my father, through the smoke and flames, I could see that my father was trying to make a dash for the nearest hills. It felt like we had been running for a lifetime when at least a line of trees at the base of the hills came into sight. If we could just get there, we'd be able to escape into the forest. But suddenly my father stopped dead in his tracks. Mujahideen, he yelled, pointing towards the hills. Mujahideen. Up ahead, at the edge of the forest, a long line of raiders on horseback were blocking our escape route. People from the village were running toward their trap. Mujahideen, my father screamed, tried to warn them, Mujahideen. And then the long line of ragged men, probably looking like this, on horseback, let out a chilling battle cry and charged towards us. This was strategic. They knew what direction they were going to run into. How many times have you done this shit? And the people are already Muslim. Remember, she said that Allah punished the people who used to be humans and turned them into monkeys. Pay attention. They're already Muslims. They're already groomed. The guy's sitting around a campfire talking about fucking monkey stories. And he already knows about the raiders. They got you groomed and waiting. Just sitting there waiting. You're sitting ducks. We turned and ran in the opposite direction as the deafening sound of gunfire broke out behind us. There was complete panic and terror as the villagers fought to escape and take cover. In all the chaos, I suddenly lost hold of my mother's hands. For a few seconds, my father called desperately for her. Amner, Amner, Amner. But there was no reply. Excuse me. There's nothing we can do, he yelled. Come on, Mindy. Run, run. We have to keep running. Excuse me. Oh, I hope I do not get the hiccups. So we ran back into the village. Along the way we had just come, I could feel waves of exhaustion washing over me now. My legs were growing tired and heavy. My lungs were gasping at the cold night air. Then my father caught sight of a herd of stampeding cattle bearing down on us. He tried to lead us safely through the crazed, charging herd. But suddenly, one of the cows barreled right into me and I went sprawling to the ground. I curled up in a ball as I felt hooves pounding over me. Now I'd lost my father as well as I thought I was going to die. After what seemed like a long time, the stampede passed and somehow I was alive. I lay there in the dust, whimpering and petrified, with tears streaming down my face. I prayed that somehow my father, she prayed. She's praying. I prayed that somehow my father would find me, but instead a man grabbed me from behind and pinned me to the ground. A group of Mujahideen raiders had come to steal our stampeding cattle, and one of these men had now captured me. I kept trying to shout for my father, who I knew must be somewhere nearby, but the man clamped his hand tightly over my mouth. I was expecting to be beaten or worse, but instead he picked me up off the ground. I looked around at him. Come on, he hissed in Arabic. I want to help you. Come with me, and I'll keep you safe and return you to your family. Otherwise, kill you. Now come. The same type of fucking deception. Look at the mentality of these people. This is what they're doing. This is a child. Oh, I'm gonna take you back to your family. Chill, be quiet, because if the other people catch you, they're gonna get you, right? The same thing they do. Look, the pagans and the bad guys. Watch out, the devil, the jinn, the evil, wicked demons. Look over there. Watch out. I'm gonna save you. Come over here. The most merciful, peaceful. That's the one. He's the same dude. They're following the same script. Peace, yeah. Oh, heaven, goodness, righteous. And then you see the other shit that they do, right? I saw him turn and whisper to one of the other men with him close in his ear. Then the two of them started laughing. They were Arabs and they wore dirty clothing. I could see by the light of the flames that they each had a curved dagger and a pistol tucked in their belts. Then I was marched away through the burning village. Eventually, we reached this is traumatic as fuck. We reached the forest. Around 30 boys and girls were already sitting there under the trees. 30 boys and girls. 30 boys and girls. Pay attention. Despite the fact that we were all shocked and traumatized, I was so happy to see them. I recognized many of the boys and girls from my village. At least I was no longer alone. That's another thing that happens to you people. This has psychologically been proven. The first thing you do when you're traumatized is you start looking for ways to cope. You start looking for things familiar to you. If it's a piece of a rock that you could find from your village, then you can hold it while you're being beat. It'll make you feel better. You start adapting to the things that are happening to you. You become desensitized. So this is another aspect of why some people didn't fight, but not in this case. I'm just saying there's some people who they're not going to fight. They're trying to figure out a way to cope and ignore what the fuck is happening to them. It is a way to protect yourself. Unfortunately, that is a way of protection. That your body does it to itself. Your brain protects itself that way by trying to make it seem like this is okay. You know, this is probably why their father knew about the slave ratings, and you have other places like where Equiano came from, where they were trained from a young age. He just slipped up, they fucked up, and they weren't paying attention. They were too busy having fun. So they got caught lacking. But they were trained to prepare for these people when they arrived. They were trained soldiers at a young age. All right. So they would defend themselves and each take turns climbing up a damn tree. But at one time they took too long and they caught them slipping. Here, they were sitting around a damn campfire. You know, I didn't hear of any weapons. And they were just running. And he's telling stories about fucking black hairy monkeys and shit, you know? But hey, it is what it is. Eventually, we reached the forest, and around 30 boys and girls were already sitting under the trees. Despite the fact that we were all shocked and traumatized, I was so happy to see them. I recognized many of the boys and girls from my village. At least I was no longer alone. Stay here until the other raiders have all gone, the man said to me. You'll be safe here. I sat down and looked around me. There were horses tethered in the forest nearby, for men were standing guard over us. They looked similar to the men who had brought me here. I kept thinking about my father and my mother in Babel. I wondered if I would ever see them again. More and more children kept being brought to join us. Many were hysterical, sobbing with grief. Others sat silently with big haunted eyes. The youngest were around 8 years old, and the oldest, like me, were around. The sound of fighting still filtered through the trees, but it sounded far away and muted now. We waited there until it was almost morning. There was a girl I knew well who lived near me in the village. Her name was Sharon, and she was only 8 years old. She was wailing, and I was scared that the guards would get angry. So I made her come and sit beside me to quiet her down. I tried to comfort her as she kept crying for her mother. A little boy started to sob out his story. His whole family, these are primary sources on top of primary sources. So she's talking, and they're also talking about their story. So this is a group of children. There was 30 at least, young boys and girls. And then as they were sitting there was more being brought in. And they're all saying what happened to them. And she saw what the fuck happened to their goddamn families. But we're going to keep getting into it. A little boy started to sob out his story. His whole family had tried to escape the flames, but amid the confusion, his little sister of 18 months had been left behind in a burning hut. Another boy said the Mujahideen had thrown open the door of his hut. His mother tried to hide his twin baby sisters, but the Mujahideen had grabbed her and cut her throat. Then he killed the two babies too. The boy was hiding under his bed. Those were the last things he saw before the raiders dragged him out and took him away. By the end of the night, I had listened to so many terrible stories. I thought back over the stories that my father had told me about the attack on the Shimi tribe. During the raid on our village, I had seen girls pinned to the ground with their clothes ripped off and the raiders on top of them. I knew these girls were having bad things done to them. I tried to curl up into a ball and make myself look as small as possible as to avoid the attention of the guards. But thinking back on this now, if the guards had just raped me that night and left me behind in the forest, that would have been a good thing compared to what really happened to me. Hear this again. But thinking back on this now, if the guards had just raped me that night and left me behind in the forest, that would have been a good thing compared to what really happened to me. That's how bad this shit is. Just as dawn began to light the sky above the trees, a long line of men came marching out of the gloom from the direction of the village. As they went past, I could see that all of them were carrying knives. Some had small pistols and others had bigger guns. Many had blood all over their hands. Others had blood smeared around their belts where they carried their daggers, and others had blood all over their loins. They looked crazed with violence and hatred. I searched the long line of faces for the man who had brought me here. When I finally saw him, I forced myself to look him directly in his eyes. But he just gazed back at me with wild, staring eyes. And when he started laughing, he lifted his hand and gave me a small, cruel wave. Because he was just fucking with her. Just like that book. It's just fucking with you. It's a trick. It's just fucking with you. That's to get you sitting there, sitting there waiting so they can come and get all the booty they want. You're a humbled sitting duck sitting there. You paid your taxes. You recited what they told you to recite, and you're getting your reward in heaven. And don't worry about what the fuck is happening to you here. You a believer, and they still came and fucked you off. It's a setup. You're supposed to be there defending your fucking property. You got animals, you got cattle. We know to do this shit in video games. There should be no excuse. We be online talking about what we're going to do. Well, you're going to defend yourself, motherfucker. That's what the fuck you want to do. That's the only thing that keeps catching us slipping. Port showed you when you fall back. The diary showed you, the European himself, the Portuguese themselves. We went through it. Hey, we can't fight these people. These niggas dangerous. Let's go fuck with them. Who? The people who have no defense. That's who you go fuck with. With the Native Americans, the ones that we're going to make an alliance with them. Them motherfuckers crazy. They will chop you up and eat your ass. We be against them. We on your side. Me and you team up and let's fight them. You got to defend yourself. You're not going to beat a nigga with no goddamn belief. It's not going to work. You can pray as hard as you want to. It's not going to fucking happen. We were praying when they pulled up. To our ancestors, respect. I respect my ancestors. And like I told anybody, if you follow anything, follow your own people shit. I agree with that 100%, even though we're going to have some talks about what is reality and what's not. If you're following your own people shit, cool. But we were praying to those gods. We prayed to their gods, our gods, all types of shit. And it didn't work. We got our asses handed to us because you got to defend yourself. That's the last thing that you got. You can build up anything you want. You can have any religion you want, culture, whatever. But if you cannot defend yourself, it does not fucking matter. And we're not going to keep sitting here pretending like we don't know what the fuck the problem is. That's the issue. Whenever y'all ready, that's when the fuck is going to happen. We don't have no problems building up shit. We're not dumb. We're inventors. We're innovative. We're super fucking creative with the things that we do. We're very intelligent beings. We just humbled ourselves so much because we have been beat up by religion and some of our old traditions of being non-violent, that we're sitting here thinking that defending yourself is being an extremist or being a violent group or some shit. You're supposed to defend yourself, especially if someone, every time you build up something, they come and knock the shit off. Come on now, how many gods we got to run through to figure out that it's a fucking fairy tale? The men filed past in the forest behind us. There must have been around 100 or so. They formed up into ranks 5 deep. She even talk like us. They formed up into ranks 5 deep, facing back down the hills towards us. I prayed that the mountain would collapse and kill them. This fairy tale shit. And her brain could be used for something else. She still fought, but I'm just saying, imagine if she had no beliefs, no prayer. Grab a rock, fuck the prayer, get a rock, hit him, run, get a little, some type of fight. I hope this fucking mountain collapse on to bite somebody, do something, grab his knife, cut his throat, jump off the horse. If you don't have these beliefs, we can get to things faster. That is my issue with it. I'm more supportive of any type of belief system if we can first gain way where we can protect our people who are just sitting there meditating on and doing that shit for hours upon hours. Well, at least you got somebody protecting you while you sit there and zone out and try to figure out how to tap into some other things, right? It may be something there. But in these instances, and even today, what we're dealing with, we don't have time. We need to do. We just don't have time for that. This shit, it kind of stagnates you a little bit, whereas somebody else would have already, start trying to figure out a way to improvise and do something, adapt. I got to adapt to this environment. I got to make a weapon out of something. You see what I'm saying? That's how that works. So to kill them, the man who had been leading them now stood in front of them and began to bark orders. I could not hear exactly what he was saying, but they all replied in a thunderous chant. Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. God is great, God is great, God is great. Over and over they shouted this, the chant echoing around the valley. I was surprised and I was scared. My father used to say Allahu Akbar when he killed a goat or a chicken in the village. If you did not commend the animal to Allah by saying this, it would be halal or holy to eat. It would not be halal or holy to eat. But why were these men now shouting Allahu Akbar after burning our village, raping and killing? Did they think it was halal to do this? We were Muslims just like them. So how could they think this? You're a slave. That's the difference. It's the way you treat the slaves. See how you still get got? It's a trick. If you become a Muslim, I ain't gonna do nothing. They probably was like, we just gotta pay them a little change. All right. Recite it. Okay, we good. Sit around the fire with my daughter. Allah turned them humans into monkeys because they were being disobedient. One day the nigga pull up on you and slide and you confused. Well, what the fuck y'all doing? I thought we were good. You black nigga. You never good. For about an hour, we waited in the dawn shadows as they chanted their victory cries. When they had finished, they came charging back down the hill towards us. Those who were the quickest seized the oldest girls in the group. Then they started to take the younger girls and then finally the boys. A man came and grabbed Sharon. She cried out that she wanted to stay with me, but the man just slung her onto his horse like a sack and rode off with her into the forest. These are animals. These are fucking animals. And they used to this shit. You just grab somebody and fling them, and you know what type of arm strength that take? You just grab and it got to be what, over 30 pounds, 30, 40 pounds, right? And you just grab them and just whoop, fling them up on a damn horse. You do this shit. This is the type of shit you do. You do this. Your arm, you built for this type of shit. The man who had originally captured me had came and grabbed me and pulled me over to his horse. He asked me my name. I didn't want to tell him, but I was too frightened to resist, so I told him it was Mindy. He slung me up into the saddle, and he then jumped up behind me. The horse was huge, but bigger than my father's donkey. The horse was huge, much bigger than my father's donkey. As we set off, I grabbed hold of the saddle and held on for dear life. Mustering up all my courage, I shouted back over my shoulder to the man, "Where are we going? You said you'll take me back to my family." "Once we're away from here," he grinned wolfishly, "I'll tell you where we're going." Once we're away from here, I'm going to tell you where we're going. Sick ass niggas. We started galloping through the dense forest away from the Nuba settlements. I could see other raiders and horseback flashing past us in the trees. We hadn't been riding for long when the man started trying to touch me all over. I felt him grab my breast, not that I really had any breast to speak of, as I was only 12 years old. He squeezed me hard, and I couldn't push him off as I was holding tightly onto the saddle. "Stop. You're hurting me," I screamed. I cried out. "Please stop it. Hey, I'm only trying to hold you safe in case the horse stumbles," he yelled back. "I'm holding the saddle. I don't need your help." We were following a stony riverbed that wound through the forest. It was very uneven and dangerous, he explained, and he had to hold on to me tightly to protect me. My breasts were small and tender, and he kept pawing at them. Then, as we rode deeper into the forest, he pushed his hand down between my legs. I felt a stabbing pain, and I cried out, but he wouldn't stop. When I was younger, my mother had told me that I must not let any man touch my body before I was married. If I did, I would burn in the fires of hell. But as I sat there clutching desperately onto the saddle with both hands, I couldn't defend myself, so I started to cry. After around 2 hours of this, I told the man that I wanted to stop to pee. By now, the sunlight was filtering down through the trees, and I was desperate to go. He reined in his horse and lifted me down to the ground. I went off behind a tree, but before I even started to go, I realized that he had crept up on me. I felt him watching, and I could hear his heavy breathing behind me. I was so petrified I couldn't even look around to see what he was doing. And then he jumped on me. I screamed out as I collapsed onto my side, and he wrestled me over onto my back. I was pinned down and I couldn't breathe as he pushed himself onto me. As he tried to force his tongue into my mouth, I felt like vomiting. I tried to keep my jaw clamped tight together, but he bit hard into my lip instead until the blood trickled down my chin. Y'all understand? This is sick ass dudes. These niggas is sick. Then he started to force my legs apart. Each time I tried to push them together again, he hit me hard around the face. I felt him slip his hand down there and tried to force his fingers inside me. I felt my flesh tearing because I was so narrow. Pain wrenched through my loins. I tried to push him off and clamp my legs shut again, but he just kept beating me. Then he got his body on top of me, forced my thighs apart, and I could feel him pushing something between my legs. He was a big man, and I could smell his sweaty body all over me. He was trying to force himself inside me, but because of my circumcision, he couldn't seem to manage it. And then suddenly, he just let out a long moan and collapsed on top of me. She's confused. She doesn't even understand what's going on. This is how sick this is. She doesn't even get it. He lay there panting for what seemed like an eternity before rolling off to one side. He stayed on the forest floor for some time with his eyes closed, breathing heavily. I curled up into a ball, crying and whimpering to myself. His clothes were stained between his legs. I didn't know what had happened. I wondered if he had wet himself, but he was a big man and big man. He was big. He was a big grown man. I hoped and prayed that something was wrong with him and that he was going to die. I was in so much pain I couldn't move. When I had felt him thrusting something between my legs, I had thought that it must have been his knife or his gun and that he was trying to kill me. I didn't know how I had managed to survive. I just lay there in tears and in agony, feeling my life had come to an end. By now, some of the other raiders were riding past, and when they saw us, they stopped. Maybe they thought their man was in trouble. The man sat up and signaled to them that he was all right, and they rode on. Then he started to brush himself off, and he had brushed himself off where he had messed his trousers. When he pulled me up to my feet, I could barely walk. I was in such pain, but he shoved me back on the horse, and we set off through the forest again. We hadn't been riding for 5 minutes before he started squeezing my breast all over again. They're not even riding for 5 minutes. He grabbed me by the chin and forced my head around so he could kiss me. I can remember his face against mine and the pain of my swollen lip. I can remember how disgusting it was and the taste of the blood in my mouth. And I could remember his foul hands on me and the tears streaming down my cheeks. Why are you crying? This is good, he kept saying. As he tried to kiss me again, I bit him hard on the lip in a desperate effort to get him to stop. But instead of pulling away, he forced me even closer to him. Yes, that's good, he moaned in my ear, but don't bite me so hard. Kiss me. I begged him to stop, but he just kept saying that soon I will start to enjoy it. For 4 or 5 hours, we rode on like this, with me trying to fight him off the whole time. After a while, I really needed to go pee again, but I didn't want to give him any excuse to stop. Finally, we arrived at a clearing in the trees where the rest of the raiders were waiting. Many of the other girls were crying. In fact, some of them seemed to be in much more pain than me. I can't go to the toilet. It hurts so much. One of the girls sobbed to me. That man, he cut me down here. These are kids, so they don't understand what's going on. Then I caught sight of Sharon, who came running over to me. In a frightened whisper, she told me how the man who carried her on his horse had tried to kiss her and touch her too. She was only 8 years old. I could hear the raiders talking and laughing in Arabic, pointing at different girls. The one shouted over to my raider, Atif, how about you? How was your journey then? Did you have a good time? Atif whistled. I enjoyed it so much. I wish it could go on forever and ever. That's what they're trying to get to in the afterlife. That's why this is a reward for them in the afterlife, because there's something fucking wrong with these niggas. That's why they put it in a book. You really think a God sent an angel to tell them, hey, you know, you're going to get 72 virgins? This is just them writing. This is them. These are those people. That's what they like. So this is the reward they're getting. That's what heaven is. Your heaven is whatever the fuck you like, right? That's what you put in your heaven, what you like. They stuck what they like in their heaven. Man, 72 virgins, you know, I'm getting it in. When all of the mujahideen were assembled, we rode on and reached a large town. We skirted the edge of the town and came to camp made up with 20 or more khaki green tents arranged in rows. We approached the camp in a long line, and at the gates we were met by a group of men in military uniforms. The leader of the raiding party stopped to talk to them. Everything was fine, he told them, smiling. It went exactly according to plan. As the raiders rode past the soldiers on guard at the front gate into the camp, they shouted greetings to each other. How was the ride, brother? A soldier shouted over, laughing. Was it good for you? Oh, yes, brother. We had a very, very good journey, a raider shouted. In fact, brother, we wish it could have lasted 10 days. Another of the raiders joined in. These girls were difficult to open. You know, these Nuba girls are just like Arab girls. They're circumcised too. Again, that's how you treat your woman. If you're treating your own people in such a way, fuck is you gonna do to my people? So you've learned something new. Hey, brother, the soldier replied, laughing. The Muslims aren't your brothers? That's not your sister? That wasn't your niece? Y'all Muslim first. But you know these girls are so small, it's going to be difficult whichever way. Once inside the camp, we were split up. Girls in one tent, boys in another. After half an hour or so, a soldier came and left us some bread, lentil stew, and roasted peanuts. But we were all too exhausted and too traumatized to eat. I lay down on the floor of the tent to try to sleep. But the pain that I was feeling was almost as bad as when I was circumcised. But now everyone knew that we would not be seeing our families again. Sharon came and smuggled up to me on the floor and snuggled up to me on the floor. This man, he was trying to eat my mouth like it was meat, she whimpered. Then some of the girls started to talk about what had happened to them. The Europeans are the only source, huh? On the ride, they were talking about what happened to them on the ride. Many of them had been assaulted in a similar way to me, even those as young as 9 and 10 years old. We were in so much pain, but we were all too young to really understand what had happened. He tried to force something hard inside me, I told the others tearfully, but he wasn't able to. So he pushed his hand down there. It was so painful, I thought he was going to kill me. That first evening, there was a guard on duty who seemed to feel a little sympathy for us. Don't cry, he said. You're very lucky. You're all going to a very good place. There's nothing to worry about. Now get some rest. It was late evening, and we tried to sleep. But all night long, we kept waking each other as we were having nightmares and screaming. For the first few days, we weren't allowed out of the tent. The Nuba boys who'd been captured with us stayed in their tents too. But on the third day, a man came into the tent dressed in what I know is an officer's uniform. He brought with him an Arab man dressed in jalabia, a long traditional robe. This man walked around the tent looking at all the girls. He pointed at 3 or 4 and told the officer that these were the ones that he wanted. And about an hour later, a soldier came and took these girls away. We didn't know that we were going for good, so no one hugged or said goodbye, but they never returned. The next day after the sunset, the guard gave us 2 hours to get some fresh air. The boys were also let out. The guard told us we could play, but no one was in the mood. I caught sight of a jock, a friend from the village. Sharon and I went to sit with him. Sharon had attached herself to me very closely by now. She followed me everywhere I went. I asked a jock where some of the boys had gone, and there seemed to be fewer of them. They were taken away yesterday, said a jock in his low voice. Some girls were taken away too. Where do you think they have gone? A jock said that he didn't know, but he didn't think that they'd be coming back again. Just before we were ordered back into the tent, a jock asked me, what happened to your lip? Did you fall off the horse? No, I didn't fall, I said. The man on the horse bit me. Why? Did you try to fight him? Asked a jock. In surprise, he wanted to kill me. He tried to stab me, I told a jock. Just then, we were sent into sleep. The next day, the guard asked us if we wanted to go to the bathroom to wash. It was such a wonderful thought, the idea of getting ourselves clean, but we were scared that it might be a trick and that the soldiers would jump us. So only one group of girls went, those who were brave enough to risk it. The bathroom turned out to be another smaller tent. We stood on a wooden platform, took water from a big stone sink and poured it over ourselves. It felt so good to wash the touch of these men off of our bodies. For the first time in days, we felt clean again. And make sure you wash yourselves well, one of the guards urged us through the tent wall. Spin as long as you like. If not, you'll get sick. We had brought our panties with us so that we could wash the blood off of them. The guard had given us some old shirts, which were so big that we could wear them like dresses over our panties. Hold on, y'all. They were the same sort of shirts that the soldiers wore, although I'm done, y'all. I can't do this. I can't do this shit anymore. Y'all get the point.
Yeah,
I can't do it anymore. So that's the shit that they're saying didn't happen. These people like to say that this is just somebody selling, and I can't even give people the benefit of the doubt of them just well, maybe it was they captured them and then they sold them. Where the fuck do you think they got all of these goddamn people from? When you look at these damn numbers, where the fuck do y'all think they got them from? That's a lot of men, women, and children. And if y'all want to get the book, it is if y'all I think I could do it in the chat. It's Mindy.
And this was 19 what?
92.
God damn.
She escaped in 2002.
That's fucking crazy. That's fucking crazy.
Mindy Nazar. So when y'all be seeing us amped up in a lot, why are you guys so mad? Like, bro, this is the type of shit that we gotta read.
Right.
So I would love to hear what the fuck y'all gotta say. I mean, actually, I wouldn't even want to hear what y'all gotta say, but if y'all got something to say, y'all can go ahead and pull up here or pull up later and try to
wait for my
twist to it.
I'm gonna go ahead.
Guarantee you.
Yeah.
What you say?
No, I said I'm gonna go ahead and get my little prezo out the way real quick. But that was deep, dog. I felt that. I think everybody did. That was crazy, especially that whole book. I don't even know if I can read that shit.
This nigga, bro, he was reading the book with a turban on his head.
Yeah, I did that on purpose.
Yeah, I know you did.
I did that shit on purpose.
Yeah. That's how we roll.
Yeah, man. Bro, go ahead, man. I just want to forewarn y'all, whoever pull up, I'm not gonna be like trying to have no nice conversation. So I'm just gonna snap on you just like on purpose. So I'm just giving you a heads up. But go ahead, bro.
All right, let me a moment of silence, man, for the kids and shit, man. For real. Give me a minute, y'all. I'm gonna get my shit together. Y'all see me?
Yeah. The enslavement of Black Africa.
There we go. All right, yeah. So Islam is definitely on trial, man. You guys heard a lot what Mo talked about, and what I'm gonna do is brush over a little bit of the history of Islam, right? And where did it come from and where did it originated from. So we got Islam on trial, the enslavement of Black Africa. The Arabic word for Islam means to submit. The source that I'm pulling from on this slide is from the Oxford History of Islam. We're talking about the origins of Islam. If you look at this map, this is Saudi Arabia in the middle. You have the upper right half of Africa, right there where Egypt's at. If you look real close, you can see the flowering of Egypt. And on the bottom is like the Horn of Africa. All right. Now, the origins of Islam started out with the Prophet Muhammad ibn Allah in West Arabia between 570 and 632. After his death, a series of successors called caliphs claimed political authority over the Muslim communities. Now, on the eve of Islam, you had the Byzantine and the Sasanians, if I'm pronouncing that right, rivalry along the struggle between Rome and Persia that lasted for more than 500 years. The Byzantine, Christian, Roman, Hellenistic culture versus the Sasanian, Iranian, Zoroastrian culture. The Arab slave trade. Now, the Red Sea trade was dominated by Arabia. If you look at this map, the Red Sea is that patch of water that's on the left-hand side, right there where the Horn of Africa is. So Arabia was in close proximity to where Africa lies at. Right here, it says Ethiopia is Arabia's closest neighbor, separated only by the sea. The island of Dahlak and Kebra was the outlet for Arab trade and a point of departure for the fusion of Islam into the Ethiopian heartlands. So this is where these motherfuckers came from. And this is how this shit got into Africa. Before, we were literally minding our own African business. By the 13th century, they were Muslim communities in the Ethiopian highlands that traded under the protection of Christian states. Now let's talk about the Arab resistance, right? Because everybody think we haven't fight. You know, we don't fight. We just let this shit ride. But I'm going to show you guys we were fighting. I'm going to show you guys some of the resistances and stuff that we had as Black Africans, okay? Balad al-Sadat. I say this all the time. Balad al-Sadat refers to as the land of the Blacks. This is below like North Africa, right around. And this is where you see majority of the dark melanated brothers and sisters that we find today. Now, land of the bow, Nubia, Tasseti. I want you guys to take a really good look at the image on your left, right there. One of the oldest civilizations that predates the first dynastic period in Egypt was Tasseti in Nubia. A lot of Kemet got their influence from Nubia. Now let's talk about the land of the bow. Let's talk about the Nubian archers, right? These motherfuckers was no joke. When it comes to standing up to fucking Islam, these motherfuckers did it. Right here. The Nubian archers, there was a land south of Egypt that was recognized as the land of the bow. This is present day Nubia. The archery of Nubia goes back over thousands of years. Nubian archers would be featured in Kemet's military for thousands of years. The first resistance to Islamization the first resistance to Islamization of Africa was by the Nubian archers. Now, I want you guys to get this book right here on the left, Islam in Tropical Africa, edited by I.M. Lewis. This is my source. I'm on page 113 on this particular source. And right here, okay. It says the spread of Islam was due mainly to the peaceful contacts of merchants. Now, the merchants are, you know, people that are selling shit, and they are selling all types of shit. Enslaved Africans are included. So anytime you see merchant, I would raise an eyebrow, okay? But anyway, the contacts of merchants and the penetration of Arabs who settled and mixed with the Sudanese people. So this is one of them inviting you to the cookout moments right here. The Sudanese opened up the door and allowed some of these motherfuckers to come in. Muslims were able to enter the Sudan by 3 major routes. The first was across the Red Sea, illustrated in that that map that I just showed you guys. That body of water that's to the left, that's the Red Sea. Either via Abyssinia, Ethiopia, or directly to the Sudanese ports, such as Badai and Adabla and Sukin. If I'm pronouncing those wrong, please correct me. Although the Red Sea was generally difficult to navigate, it was at no time a formidable obstacle to movements. However, the number of those who migrated by the route could not have been as great as those who entered from Egypt. So they were coming in all types of ways via the trade, pushing this Islam onto the African continent. Now it says it was mainly by this latter route that the process of Arabization and Islamization of the Eastern Sudan was accomplished. Immigrants avoided the Nile Valley, fearing the Nubians, who formidable unauthorized entry, and the majority of Arabs infiltrated through the Eastern Desert unnoticed by the Nubian authorities. So right off here, I want to stop right here. You had a resistance from the Nubians from the jump. They had people set up looking for these motherfuckers and, you know, making sure they didn't come in. Now, that didn't stop them from coming in because it was a full-on invasion. They were running out of resources over there at the time. They were going through hella wars. You know, Islam is an AD religion. This is like one of the new kids on the block type of religion. They went through a lot of wars over there. You had Zoroastrianism that was going on from Iran. You had the Persians and all that stuff. And up comes Islam. And once they got their shit together, they started doing jihads and the raids and all of that shit over there. All that stuff Mo was talking about that happened in Africa happened over there first. And then they brought that shit with them over here. But we had the Nubians that was, you know, at the door, God and shit. You had Nubian authorities, right? And it says the last and probably the least important route from was the northwest of Africa, whose effect falls outside the scope of this paper. Now, this route was, however, frequent by a number of men of religion who had great influence in propagation of Islam after the 16th century. The reports we possess of the first Muslim-Nubian clash are somewhat confused, but it is evident that there were 2 main invasions. The invasion in 641 AD and the second in 651, 652. Now, the skillful Nubian archers bravely resisted the Muslim conquerors, and the Muslims were soon to discover that the fighting against an extreme, dangerous, and disagreeable enemy. I'm going to repeat that one more time. I apologize about my background noise. Now, the skillful Nubians, archers, bravely resisted the Muslim conquerors, right? And the Muslims were soon to discover that they were fighting against an extremely dangerous and disagreeable enemy. The Nubians were henceforth called the eye smitters, meaning they will shoot your punk ass from a mile away with a bow and arrow. And that's what happened. And that's what they did for hundreds of years. Shout out to the Nubians that try to stop these motherfuckers from coming into Africa. Next book I want you guys to get is The Royal Kingdom of Ghana, Mali, and Sun God Life in the Medieval Africa. Now we're talking about the Islamization of West Africa. Africa couldn't hold the, couldn't keep the resistance from the Islamization for long before they came in here and leaked into Africa through the north and across the Sahara, right? I want you guys to pick this book up. It's a really great book. Now, in this book, we're talking about Ghana and how these motherfuckers got over there. All right. Now, on page 35 of 161 in this book, It says interest in West Sudan grew when the sultans of Arabia. See how far these motherfuckers came? they minding our African business from Arabia. It says interest in the West Sudan grew when the sultans of Arabia heard trader stories about the gold-rich countries about the south of the Sahara. The Arabs wanted very much to add West Africa's wealth to the ever-expanding Arab empire. It's all about empire expansion. They wanted to come over here and just take our shit and make it their own, right? As well as to add believers to the Islamic world. But to launch a jihad against Ghana would not have been practical. Ghana was too far away and protected by enormous desert. You had the whole desert that these motherfucking camel driving motherfuckers had to learn to cross. Dr. Henry Clark talks about that, right? So once they learned how to map that shit, that's when they start preying on Ghana. It says here, over time, though, Islam reached Ghana anyway. This happened in the same way as missionaries, fur trappers, and traders spread across the America West, bringing a new religion, and a new economy with them, right? Right here, it further reads that Islam has no organized priesthood, but educated religious teachers and professionals were and are important and powerful people. As a group, they were called the Ulama, the learned, and their opinions still play a large role in places where Islam is practiced. The first contact Ghana had with Islam was through merchants and travelers, the Amama. In turn, introduced the Sanake to Arabic, their first writing language. Although they came to win converts, these scholars also wrote profusely about their experiences. It is from these early writings that we get a glimmer of what old Ghana was like. All right, so I want you guys to pay close attention to this. Islam reached old Ghana, but the Ghanaian king and the majority of his subjects remained loyal to their traditional African religions. I don't want to hear nobody saying that this shit was already there at first. But before the Arab conquest, before these motherfuckers invaded with their little smelly ass camels, we were having our own African traditions. And this is what I mean when we were minding our African business. But the trade hurt us. We always want the nice shiny shit that we can't get around the way. We like foreign shit for some reason, right? But anyway, Islam reached old Ghana, but Ghanaian kings and majority of his subjects remained loyal to their African traditions. I wanted to repeat that. This disturbed the more devout Muslims. Oh, wow. Why can't these Africans mind their business? Why does that disturb them? But anyway, who would later use religion as a reason to attack the kingdom? But for a time, the Ghanaian king allowed Muslims and any other group to work, teach, and build their institutions within their empire. This is how nice Africans are. Well, we can let, I always say all the time, we always say, man, you can come to the cookout every time they do some cool shit, right? You can come to the cookout. We allow you to the cookout. That's what happened. We are a giving, loving people. We got everything we need. We don't have to fight for this shit. Come over here. We break you off a piece of whatever we got. But they took over and they took our kindness for weakness. The Ghanaian king allowed Muslims and any other group to work, teach, and build their institutions within the empire. All right. Now I want to go to this book right here, The Chronicle of the Discovery and Conquest of Guinea. This is volume 1, but I suggest you guys get both volumes. Get volume 1 and get volume 2. Okay. Now let's talk about the justification for Black enslavement, the curse of Ham, real quick. I ain't gonna go too long over this, but this is one of the things I want to touch base on when the Europeans arrived. these Islamic motherfuckers was already there, and they had a slave trading enterprise already set up. Now on chapter 16, we talked about Antum Goncalves. If you've been paying attention to us, you should know who Antum Goncalves is. You should know who Nino Tristo is. These are Orders of the Christ, members of Prince Henry and crew, pretty much. These are Portuguese motherfuckers. And when they got there, they saw who was in charge. The white folks saw the Arabs and Moors and Muslims in charge. And it says right here, they're just wondering why black folks are selling black folks. And this separates who's who and what is what right here with the whole curse of Ham right here. And this was written back in the 1400s, whenever Prince Henry the Navigator came across West Africa and the coast of Guinea, doing their own slave raids too, learning it from them. This is where they learned it from. They've been doing this shit for a long time, and they had to learn it from somebody. But anyway, it says, and here you must note that these black Moors, like others, though they're slaves, in accordance with the ancient customs, which I believe to have been because of the curse, which after the lodge Noah laid upon his son Cain, cursing him in this way, that his race should be subject to all other races in the world. And from his race, these blacks are descended, as wrote the Archbishop and Josephus. So this is the Europeans having a dilemma of like, damn, why are these black folks selling these black folks for? Oh, I get it. These are Muslims. These are believers of Allah, and they subscribe to the same Abrahamic bullshit that we do. So they don't give a fuck about these traditional Africans. They're okay to subjugate them. Next book I want you guys to get, The Trans-Saharan Slave Trade by John Wright. Slavery in the Sahara, Black Africa. This right here is a map of the old like trade routes and stuff, the old Sahara routes. So on the right side of this map, you see the Red Sea. That's how the motherfuckers got over here. And you had a lot of caliphs and a lot of Arab nations and stuff that was encroaching on the northern part of Africa and around the Mediterranean Sea. You also had the Byzantines, and you had this power of dominance that they were trying to go through. You had the Islam fighting Christianity, and they were just basically taking over territories. This right here is Usman Del Fudo. He was one of the ones that was responsible for spreading Islam through West Africa under the Fulani, and they are part of the. You had a bunch of these caliphs. All of these motherfuckers spreading Islam and shit, and the Fulani was one of the major parts in that. We heard Mo talk about Shura law, right? And it says on the Shura law, new slaves could be recruited only by birth in slavery or by capture in war. Muslims could not enslave fellow Muslims. A Muslim thus reduced to slavery suffered a grievous injustice, but a slave who became a Muslim remained a slave. All depended on the sequence of events. So it just a flip of a coin. You could be free or you could not be free. It didn't matter if you was Muslim. The status of a non-Muslim slave who converted was not altered by Islam. Let me repeat that. The status of a non-Muslim who converted was not altered by his Islam. Nevertheless, even if slavery in the Islamic world was more a matter of religion than race, Muslim slave traders in the sub-Saharan Africa were sometimes unable to resist the temptations of enslaving free black Muslims merely because they were black. Ain't that a bitch? You submit, because that's what this shit tell you to do. You submit, and they still enslave your ass. Mo just got finished telling you that girl that got snatched up was telling you what these motherfuckers was about. They didn't give a shit. This is how they spread Islam in our backyard. Now, it says by the time slaves reached their final point of sale in North Africa or the Levant, they were already uh, nominal Muslims with at least some Arabic, for they were for no buyers for pagan slaves with no speech. So they had to teach teach him Arabic on the way on the slave routes. They get abducted. It could be girls. They were 8 years old, and no God knows where they was going to end up, and they would have to teach them this bullshit, indoctrinate them after they done had a horrible experience like the female that Mo had just discussed. They have to learn this bullshit. This is the sickest shit in the world. It says the slave dealers had ensured that the male slaves were circumcised, and if they didn't, they not only did that, they chopped their whole shits off too, as necessary for all slaves had been given Arabic names. They lost their African names and was given this Arabic shit. These names were often peculiar to slave and tended to have meanings which were what I say is redolent of happiness, good fortune, and favor from God. Get the fuck out of here. Such at least seems to have been the practice in modern times, but in high Middle Ages, the 10th to 13th century, the 10th to the 13th century, there was apparently less concern for slaves' religion. Thus, the Goentine has found that the Islamic injunction that no one should be converted to any religion except Islam, why then largely disregard. Many male and female slaves must, what it says, I'm sorry, I'm messing this up. Many male and female slaves must have been baptized. Let me see. Make sure I got that. I don't know if I got the same page. My bad, y'all. But I don't know if I got the following page, but I got to read it to see. But yet, after the capture and enslavement, pagan Africans' introduction to the instructions in Islam were at best cursory and misleading. Probably the first Muslims they met in inner Africa were raiders and traders on essentially temporal slavery campaigns. Whether their religious justification for their actions might have been, such freebooters were unlikely to have been much concerned with the spiritual welfare or conversion of their black pagan captives, who very spiritual. I'm sorry. Let me read that over. Okay, such freebooters were unlikely to have been much concerned with the spiritual welfare or conversion of their black pagan captives, whose very survival was still in doubt. Few slave drivers and slave dealers in the Sudan Sahara trade were ideal models of the civilization that most slaves in their charge were being to experience for the first time, or of Islam they would be expected to accept. At least by the time they were sold to the final owner, if many such non-Arab slave owners and slave drivers at the Tabu and the Tariq of the Central and West Central Sahara were themselves barely capable of teaching the trade slaves in their charge the few words of Arabic that will raise the value of the market. They together with the Arabic speaking Moors of the Western Desert. So they had to try to convert these poor kids through the whole ordeal of, they go raid them, they unalive their parents. I'm saying unalive, they kill their parents, like I'm on TikTok, right? They in the middle of the night, they have their way with them, and then they have to teach them Arabic and have to change their name and all this crazy fuck shit. This is the most disgusting shit I've ever heard. And y'all want to take this religion and think it's okay and think it came into the heart and minds of our people in a good way. This is crazy. It says travelers were horrified by the casual inhumanity of the prodigal indifferences of the slave trader towards their charges. Even in death, they clearly considered their slaves as mere pagans, deserving neither respect nor burial. Most dead slaves were simply left where they had fallen. Ain't that a bitch? So you might take 20 slaves and 5 of them might make it. That means 15 of them might be just laying dead with flies flying around them and shit like that because they don't honor their dead like black people do. Ain't that about a bitch? The black trade, what it says, that black trade slaves on their forced marches across the Sahara were treated as if they were still unconverted pagans. So they ain't give a shit about us, man. They ain't give a shit about you speaking Arabic or subscribing to this or submitting to Allah. They don't give a fuck. They use this religion to do whatever the fuck they wanted to do, when and where. Now, what you guys are looking at right now are the areas that are like Islamic State religions. Okay, so this is where you see the Sokoto Caliph on the right, the Fota Jalan, and the Futa Tara. All these are Islamic states that took over West Africa and was okay with enslaving any of you pagan ass niggas, mainly from the Mossi, Dogon, Yoruba. This is another map. All of the highlight areas are the areas that was controlled by Islam. That's not indigenous. This is what happens after you invite motherfuckers to the cookout. And that's all I got right now, family. This is a level 1 push.
Yeah, I mean, if you got any comments or concerns, you can always bang the line. 1-800 get your shit pushed in, or you can visit our new website, www.getyourshitpushedin.com. The app will be coming soon. You know, it's going to be a mobile app. We're going to create it. Get your shit pushed in. It's just free. You know, you ain't got to pay. You just download it when it get up and running. It's okay. If any of you Islamic niggas out there, because I can say where I want. We on fucking YouTube.
Let it go.
Any one of you Islamic niggas got any problems with what Mo said or report said, the link will be provided in the chat, and you can gladly come up here and get your shit pushed in.
All day. This is the Jihad edition of the push. Man, I ain't gonna lie. What Mo read, man, that shit fucked me up, bro. Like
I don't know where he got that shit from. That was devastating.
I haven't felt that uncomfortable about what somebody was reading or what I was reading, and like the destruction of the Indies by Bartholomew de la Costa, when the motherfuckers was coming over here doing crazy shit like that. That was the last time I felt like that, bro. I'm probably glad I didn't read that, man. Because that shit would make me extra mad. So I don't blame him for having to kind of midway stop, yo.
Yeah, I didn't know they was grabbing little girls, man. That's fucked up.
And they was doing that shit, yo. They was awful with it. They learned that shit over there in Arabia. See, before they came over here with that shit, they were warring over there for a hot minute. And like I don't want to hear nobody talking about the fucking prophet or none of that shit. I don't give a fuck. I'm talking about what happened to the leadership after the prophet left. The first caliphate and shit. And the fucking caliphates that was over in West Africa. And the goddamn plantations that they had in West Africa. I ain't even talk about that. The Sokoto Empire had fucking plantations before they had them over here. This was Islam, yo. So that's crazy. Oh, what's up, Sean? Sean in the chat, yo. But yeah, man, that's crazy.
Yeah, they not gonna come over here, bro. They just want to stay on TikTok.
They they like being lazy.
TikTok cool, but because over there you can't really provide
Mhm.
the source. They just like go look it up, look it up. Why we got to? Y'all don't know how fucking tired I am. Just I gotta look up everybody's shit. Like, look, and this is the strange shit. Like before we even went in depth with any of this, me and Mo sat there on the phone. He was like, "Yeah, I got to get the laptop." I was like, "All right, I'm gonna wait." He get the laptop, and he just be sitting there waiting for the source. And then he be like, "Yeah, can I get the source?" And just keep talking. I'm gonna give it to you. I'm gonna give it to you. Can I get the source? For hours, bro. And we just still be sitting there, like, "Yeah, can I get the source?" We never get the source.
Shout out to fucking Sean P in the chat. But yeah, man, that's they on that bullshit, man. They don't want to be serious, man. That's all we keep doing. We doing.
Yeah, I think they in no show.
They knew better than to show up today with that shit.
Where the fuck is Papa Patch?
He MIA, man. He running from fucking Rob. Rob got that nigga running. He don't give a fuck about me no more.
I forgot about that.
Rob got him running. Man, yeah, I appreciate y'all appreciating what we put out there. I could have pushed a little longer, but
Yeah, we're gonna do a part 2.
yeah.
Yeah, I don't even trip.
Yeah, we're gonna talk about those West African Islam, and that's when it get ugly, and the adoption of Islam and all that crazy shit, man.
Yeah, I think I got that shit.
Yeah.
Where is
Islam
it
came about blood, period. That's right, yo. That shit was fucked up.
at? From Islamic slavery in Africa, 1400s to 1800s. That's West Africa, right?
Say that again.
The Islamic slave trade in Africa, 1400 to 1800. That's Africa. I mean West Africa.
Yeah. They were already there though. They were. I mean, they came in, I think, around 6 something around the east, and they slowly kind of made their way to the west. By the time the Mali Empire and shit was up, they were already adopting and converting to that shit.
Was that 700 something?
Mm-hmm. I got to look back in Ghana too. Whenever them motherfuckers came, like the Albinomoreds came in at certain periods and stuff too. So they came in from the north because the Albinomoreds were in Morocco, from what I understand. So you had whenever Europe had fell down, you had is like Muslim Spain. So you had the motherfuckers up there, you know what I mean? And say what you want about the Moors. When the motherfuckers came back in Morocco, they started invading shit. And, yeah.
Oh, this is part 3. I need part 1 and 2. All right, so I'm gonna look into that shit.
And I think, but most of them conversions was, they try to get the trade. They want the trade. They want to get the goods and shit that was coming in, so they were coerced to convert. But we already talked about the Ghanaian king. They really ain't take that shit seriously, but it was imposed to them.
Bro, the dude I was talking to y'all about on TikTok, he laughed at the letter.
What letter? What?
The letter from that Muhammad sent to these ruling kings. He laughed at that shit.
Man, them niggas dumb, man. That's why you can't have a conversation, because you be
called that nigga a peasant. He said, "How is a peasant gonna write me a letter about I need to convert and he's beneath me?" I was like, "Yo, mm-hmm. Oh shit!" I think he got assassinated by his son or like his brother-in-law or some shit. The dude that said that shit.
Damn. But yeah, we're gonna talk all about that shit. But yeah, they came in, man. And
that's right, Sutek. That's why the motherfuckers was converting.
Yeah, the trade was
converted so he could use that trade route.
Yeah, the trade was coming in. Look at all the trade routes that was on the joint. You had trade routes coming in from the north and from the east, and you had some of those ports that was established because you had some, a lot of the motherfuckers was all right with that shit, and you had some Somali trade raiders and shit that was doing that shit on the east. But you know who was holding that shit down? Who was holding the line? The Nubians, the fucking archers. Them niggas was on point.
I don't think they ever converted though.
I know, for the most part. I mean, maybe Christianity was up there a little bit, but they was resistant, and it goes back, man. I mean, even Queen Amon-Ra, whenever the Romans took over Kemet, they tried to make their way down there, and Augustus
they didn't want that, bro.
got his ass fucked up too. So I mean, the Nubians been holding Africa down for a long time on that side. So
yeah, I heard. I don't know if this is true or not, but this is what I heard, that they wanted the Romans wanted to go into Nubia, and I'm guessing they couldn't handle the terrain, or they got lost or some shit. So they just gave up hope and left and went back. I was like, what the fuck?
Yeah, they got lost a couple times and died out in the desert because they didn't know how to cross the desert. They didn't know where the water ports, and it was hard to cross that Sahara. But once they figured that shit out, they, via the trade, that's when they started leaking that bullshit over. And
Beatrice want that book, Port.
Which yeah, damn, which one?
She said Islamization.
Islamization.
The book name under the Islamization book. So whichever book you just presented.
All right, I gotta go back to my. Yeah, she be getting them books.
Rev, you showing up tonight?
Huh?
I'm talking to Rev. I'm trying to see if he's showing up tonight.
Islamization. Let me share my shit real quick again.
Are we doing Islam tonight on TikTok?
We can do whatever, man. We can do this. Whatever. We can do something else if we want to take a break from or whatever, man.
What's the name of it, Sean?
Yeah, what's up, Sean? Send us the book.
Yeah, send us the link to that.
Everybody follow fucking Sean right now. Let me see. Let me share my screen.
I'm waiting to get this allowance from my wife. She got promoted. So I'm waiting on an allowance.
I feel you, dog. I feel you. All right, let me go to these books real quick. Okay, one of the first books right here, Islam in Tropical Africa, really good book.
Don't scroll just yet. Let me put that in the thing.
Yeah, this is a really good one.
Tropic. All right.
That one, and then
nigga, this is expensive as shit, yo.
I know. That's how I care about y'all like that. You know what I mean? That's how much I care. And I got the digital joint and a hard copy. What?
Let me get that government job then.
Let me get that security clearance.
Oh, he said drop the link.
The link of the book?
No, so he can get in, so he can give us the link to get his book.
Oh shit! Hang on, let me go back then. My bad. I can't see him. Hang on. Hold on here. Oh shit! Drop the link so you can come in. All right, let me stop sharing. Do the invite joint.
Yeah, this motherfucker. We gonna see if we can get the PDF.
Yeah, the PDF is still Gucci though. For real though, fam. You don't gotta have a book, but the book is good to have if you like highlighting like I do and shit.
My dumb ass was talking on mute the whole time.
What's
the title of the book?
My book, the one I was talking about?
Yeah.
Islam in Tropical Africa. Islam in Tropical Africa. And let me show this other one. Share my screen. Okay, and then the other one, the Royal Kingdom of Ghana, Mali, and Songhai. This is a real good book. This is the one that was talking about the Ghanaian kings sticking to their traditional African belief system, and they really wasn't taking the Islamic bullshit seriously. That's a good one. And then one of my favorite books right here is more or less about Prince Henry and Navigator and the Portuguese and them coming with the Orders of Christ with Nino Tristram, and he got his ass slayed and fucked up and his shit handed to him on the coast of Africa. This is a 2-volume book, so make sure you get 2. One of them is a little thicker than the other. They're both really worth having. As far as any other books, I just like the way these are printed and stuff like that. They have a couple of them, but this particular one by Cambridge, it's just real clean. And then this one right here was the Trans-Saharan Slave Trade by John Wright. This is another good book as well.
Okay, go back to that book you just showed because I didn't get the last part.
This joint
In Conquest.
Yeah, I always talk about that junk. Now, if anybody want to talk shit about us not defending ourselves, it's in here. It talks about Africans 80 deep with poison dip arrows taking out Nino Tristram. And it talks about Prince Henry getting information from the Arabs and Moors on the slave trade in this book. So that's why I put this out there, because it talks about the dilemma that they had, like, well, damn, why these black folks enslaving black folks like that? What's the reason why? And it was because of the Abrahamic subscription that they like with the curse of Ham bullshit. And that's the other book. And then the trade routes, they was coming in from the north and shit from Morocco, and then on the right from on the Red Sea. And these Berber motherfuckers just wanted to come down and take over the lower parts of Africa and shit. I'll stop sharing my screen. Damn, I ain't mean to do that. Got my big ass face on.
Nigga got that bright ass yellow on.
Oh, Sean P in the motherfucking building. What's up, Sean? Peace to you, brother.
Peace to y'all. What's good? What's going on?
Man, just having a little jihad meeting.
I put the link in the private chat.
Yeah, I got it. I sent it to my
Your book, Sean? That's your book?
Yeah.
All right, I got you right now. I'm gonna go ahead and get you.
The what Sutek was saying, and there's like when you're dealing with Islam, it's best to start from that Red Sea contact
right
first, because before it comes to it, or it takes its path north, and coming in from around Kemet, that tip, that horn, that's pivotal.
Yeah.
It takes some time before we see any conversion or any type of cultural influence in East Africa, in that region near the Red Sea, because guess what they were still eating over there that they found burial sites for? What Muslims don't eat?
Pork. That rib cut.
Right. So in that region, there's burial sites, and then there's bones that are found around those burial sites, and those bones that are found around those burial sites are from pigs. So that's how they start mapping the influence of Islam in East Africa according to archaeology, which makes a really big difference in understanding what type of role and impact that Islam actually had in its earliest stages. And then from there, we began to see some burial sites later on in certain periods where there is an Islamic influence, but it is not one of acculturation, so to say. People are not adapting to it and adjusting and becoming and doing all of these things. These are actual Arabs that have transitioned into Africa and, via trade and growing accustomed to what's going on, and they've just been accepted in those areas.
Mhm.
So when they say that the earliest peaceful transition, you will see it's always like that. It's similar to how the Portuguese come into West Africa,
Right.
right?
Right.
You don't see the Portuguese; they're not violent initially,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
right? They're trading.
Coming in
They're
trade. Mhm.
right. They're trading and using our ignorance, our ancestors' ignorance against them.
Do you think that's one of the reasons that I guess Ethiopia and the Sudanese fell victim to that part of them when they first came in? Because I feel like th- somebody had to let the motherfuckers in, and what I see
Yeah, but the blood was coming. The blood was coming. That's why I put my book in there, because I talk about that in my book, how it began to conjure up. You
Mhm.
know what I mean? It conjures up, and a wave comes through, because if you to tell everyone the truth about Islam, you have to admit that there was prophets before the actual prophet,
Mm.
right? There was a bunch of prophets
Mhm. That's right.
that would be all over the Middle East in this particular area. There was no secluded one prophet. It
Right.
just so happened that he,
Mhm.
right, this
Mhm.
magnificent guy gets this last call down that's supposed to be more supreme than everyone else. And then there's some things that transpire before his death, and in the likings of the spread of Islam, that sends a message. And once that message is sent after his death, it was like, you know what I mean? It was like, we doing this by blood. You feel
Yeah.
me? And it was one of those things.
Uh-huh.
So we don't deal with Islam um, until later on, but we start seeing it brewing up.
Mhm.
But when it comes in, like you said, you got to think about it. The Muslims had to fight the Christians before they even entered into Africa. There was
Mhm.
no thing with us. The Muslims and the Arab Muslims and the Arab Christians had to bang on each other, and
Mhm.
then that Middle East Mediterranean shit had to transpire before they can gain ground.
Right, right. Yeah, you had the Byzantines and the Caesarians and that whole Persian, and they had to create, I guess, a dominant identity.
Yeah,
And that
they
shit.
was going to war with each other. I just read some shit on that.
So yeah, you got to look at all of that, yo, just to see the birth of it.
Right.
Because this AD religion, it ain't like it been around for a long time, and it goes all the way back to Arabia.
No, it hasn't.
Yeah, but no, I agree with you, bro. Like it took me way
So
back.
it's stages.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
gotta
like
talk. What That's
right.
what Sutek was saying in the chat. Is like, let's break it down to them in stages, because I don't know what y'all are. I don't know what the wave is on TikTok. I'm not on TikTok at all, but I do know that a lot of the confrontation spills over into YouTube because of the restrictions of TikTok. That's what Sutek told me.
Mhm.
So I commend y'all for trying to transition that argument to a platform where you actually can have that dialogue
Mhm.
and it not be censored, and they can't just report.
Yeah.
So in stages, people think that this shit's peaceful because people have converted. No, what you're seeing is, for instance, Fatu Gay. She owns the Gay and Gyro Skills Academy in the Gambia. She's a Muslim, right? But Fatrug is her traditional culture. I'm gonna say this again. She's a Muslim.
Mhm.
She's a Muslim by faith. They still do it's all of that shit.
But
But
they still
Fatrug,
stick to
which is
their
an African tradition,
real roots, though. They still keep that, though, right?
correct. It
Right.
ain't went nowhere.
Mhm.
It's still within her presence. and her existence as a person. So when it comes down to it, they have the kids that come after her, the ones that she's teaching, they don't have anything before that. What they're being taught now is all they know. And what we've learned in working with them and getting our books in the libraries there, right, is that they were unfamiliar with other parts of Africa that they should have been knowledgeable of because of the distance. They're literally shut out from knowing their greatness. And it wasn't until me and Kofi had to get up at 5 o'clock in the morning just to have a conversation with the students because the time zone differences. Right. And so we're on there with them for 2 hours. They're reading a book. We're talking about the books, the chapters, and they're reading my chapter. They're reading everybody else's chapter. They're asking us questions about these chapters. And we just going in. But when they said they did not know their greatness, bro, when they didn't know certain parts of their own history and they're getting this from us, we're having to paint that picture for them, shows you the influence of Islam.
Yeah, it tears you up, man. It strips your history away from you, and it replaces your identity.
That's wild.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So they really never knew anything else.
I'm gonna get you a book, dog. Straight up.
Just let me know I sign it. You order it, I sign it, send it to you.
Y'all got more than one volume?
To that, nah, I haven't added on to it. I can add on to it, but I haven't. The motivation behind that book is similar to probably what y'all are arguing on TikTok. Motherfuckers just talking crazy, you know what I mean? And the next thing you know, okay, is this what you think Islam is? So I can tell you right now, my book was inspired by a Moor, Lord Abba, because he was doing a bill, and in his bill that he did a few years ago, he basically said that Islam came in peace. He said there was nothing dangerous about Islam. Islam's a peaceful religion. It's a religion of the blacks. These are the things that he was teaching. These are the things that he was saying. These are the things that he kept repeating. And then he was on, I think he was on like Dr. Ma'ash show one day, kicking that same shit. And then at that point, I had enough. And I had already bought like 15 books. I was already reading. It's one of the most painful 2 years of my time because that's probably how long I spent reading all the material and cross-referencing and getting extra books. I think one of the last sources that I obtained was Timothy Ensaw's work, which was the archaeological records. And Timothy Ensaw's work is more prominent because the two prominent people when it comes to Islam is Levitzian and Hunwick, right? If you look at the books you're reading, they're going to be referring to those two people. So you're reading it from a tertiary perspective, whereas they're giving it to you from a secondary, and then they're giving you some primaries that they've uncovered because they spent that time dealing with Islam in Africa. Ensal deals with the archaeology. So you have two historians and an archaeologist that you're pretty much working with, and then other people kind of fit into that scheme of things. And then you have the African perspective of Islam, but it's jaded. You know what I mean? It's confusing to sit there and listen to that because it's something that they fell in love with. But the acceptance of Islam for Africans, to be more specific, West Africans in different countries in West Africa, with some of the cultural similarities, right? The multiple wives, right? Certain type of rituals, the bracelets, or charms in this instance. So if you get my book, you're gonna see, you're gonna read about some of those similarities, which makes Islam acceptable to Africans. But you're also going to see what we already be talked about and which some of y'all have mentioned, but also the fact that the prominence of trade, kinship, and its influence and how it gave them a sense of power. But the truth of the matter is, when you step back from all of that research and you step back from the Portuguese coming into West Africa and how the continent was enslaved and colonized, you see the same style fought by the Arab, by the European. The only difference was the gun for the European versus the sword of the Arab. They both brought great danger to our ancestors and our existence in the New World and in other places. When I say New World, what I basically mean by that is the Middle East is a new world for Africans leaving the continent. America or the West is a new world for Africans leaving the continent. So when we were forcibly uprooted and taken to a distant land, we didn't know nothing about those lands. And we still don't know nothing about those lands. And what we do know of is what we see. But anytime that they'll cut a man's manhood off to keep you from interbreeding, the Arabs, to keep you from interbreeding with your own women, is a sign that they are not trying to allow you to take over. That's the difference between the European wasn't thinking like that. They weren't thinking like it. The Arab was like, nah, we know your power.
Right, we got to stop this.
I need to bring you down and come on, bro. If you ain't got your manhood, man, what use are you to a woman? Ultimately, think about that. How many women would lay next to a man who ain't got he ain't got one? Now today you might see some women be like, but he loved me, you know, all that bull junk. But realistically, when her itch need to be scratched, you know what I'm saying? Like, that's hard. And then she ain't looking at you the same. And I'm talking about those times. If we could take, not today's mind, but if you take your mind back then, it ain't the same, bro. Because they going in and having their way with our women.
And then they wrote about this shit too. Like,
everybody.
That was
the white man and the Arab.
Yeah, so
that's why Dr. John Henry Clark said we ain't got no friends.
Got no friends.
Cut men dick off, yo. Reduce you down to being basically a servant.
A unit.
And all you can do is protect and fight.
That's it. Guards of the Knights, Arabian Nights and shit.
Come on, man. You ain't even got the ability to be able to smash every man on the earth, man. That's the most beautiful thing in the world is being able to crawl in between your woman. What we talking about? Oh, yeah. But we do have I'm slipping and tripping. But if you look what Sutek's saying in the chat, we do go back to Islam. We go to Islam in volume 2. In volume 5, I think. We get into a little bit of Islam in volume 5. Those are the Spears of the Masi books. You still can, the same link that I provided, you just can go into a bookstore and look at the other books.
Hey, I got a
it should be 3 too. Go ahead.
Did the Sokoto Caliph wage the jihad on the Masis or the Fulani?
All right. So here's the thing. Like, there was a battle, right, when Islam spreads into West Africa. The Masi resisted Islam.
Right.
So when you talking about Ghana and all of that right there, right, they used to come down into certain territories and fight. And, you know, a raid will come down on them, and then they'll try to come back and raid on the Masi. But there was heavy resistance to Islam. And to Islam was too overpowering and overbearing that it broke the Masi. And then the acceptance of Islam had been taken. But yeah, that's a resistance story in itself to add to the collection. If you're looking for tribes that rejected Islam and fought, the Masi is going to be one of the prominent people because they were like the last to fall.
Yeah, we're gonna have a round table on it again.
Right.
But nah, man, bang on them, man. You know what I'm saying? I don't know how many people you gonna draw out from it, but you got to think about it. Like, and I say this in a book, but I won't say exactly what I say. But these motherfuckers romanticize this shit because of the ancestor Malcolm X, right? They knew he was affiliated, right? Elijah Muhammad, all of these people here in America. You know what I'm saying? They were romanticizing that shit on a whole nother level.
Yeah.
And so now it becomes, you know, people are apologists because of what they seen. To me, Malcolm X was the number one guy, but then you turn around and you got Dr. Khalid Muhammad, you got Dr. Cal, you know what I'm saying? You got him. Some of our most powerful men that fought for our existence and our equality were converts. Because that's all. Listen, ladies and gentlemen, they are converts at the end of the day.
Pretty much.
They're practicing, listen to me when I say this, they are practicing Muslims. You understand me? There's nothing innate in them that makes them what those other people are. Practicing Muslims. Think about it. We've been practicing Christians. We've been practicing Muslims, Judeans, Buddhists. We've been into all of that. Why is that? Because we are culturally confused. This is a war for the hearts and minds of us. If we don't let them win that war, then we could release some of these shackles that continue to remain on us, even though we're in the information age. They continue to remain on our hearts, minds, and our bodies, bro. It's just that simple.
That's fast.
It's depressing. And beat their ass up. If you draw them out, we get them.
Yep.
That's what we're trying to do. They scared. They still under.
Yeah. Y'all had brought that up earlier though. What Sute just said. Instead of saying Fulton de Leon, you could just say Fulani.
Fulani. Okay, I was about to say I try to cluster it.
Fula because it's the Fula territory.
It's kind of the same though, you know. In my, you know.
But yeah, Usman Defadio here, motherfucker, man. Muhammad Bello too.
Okay, so he was the first.
Do y'all got the Tariqs?
Hold on, he was the first caliph of the Sokoto caliph, right? Yeah, I got you.
Do y'all have the Tariq Al Sudan? Or the Tariq Al Fatish?
Hold on. No,
I ain't got no example.
No,
I got is how to read it Arabic, and that's it.
Hold on, you talking about the song guy with the song guy?
No. The Tariq Al Fatish and the Tariq Al Sudan.
Oh no.
Yeah, I paid about 100 for one of them and about 60 for the other. Ooh. But those two are prominent books.
Okay.
Right. So what you have? All right. So what you have to do is, and I can understand. I forgot who just said it. They got tired of reading Arabic books. That was my thing, bro. It was gut wrenching. There's a period of time when I was doing presentations, and they used to call me an Arab because they was like, "Man, you sounded just like them motherfuckers." That's how much reading that shit I was doing, bro. Like their most who would you think is the most prominent, one of the most prominent scholars for Arabs? That is, in your opinion, can you name two or three Arab scholars?
Or just studied it?
No, Arabs.
Oh, I don't know.
Well, I had to get books that, Khaldun. Have y'all heard of Khaldun?
I've heard of that though. I have heard of Khaldun.
Right. So I got his works. Right. His works tells you the educational side of the Arab. Okay. What they practiced, how they studied, what they developed, what it meant to them, its influences, how they saw the rest of the world, all of that. Right? The Arab is the first racist. In my opinion, the Arab is the first racist. Why? Because the Arab allowed, North Africans pretty much were, but they really didn't know what racism was. Neither did neither did the Arab. But when they come in, instead of it being about skin color, it was about culture. That's what people don't understand. Initially, when we see the North African and when we see the Arab, this shit was separated via culture. So that's how you get the Sudanic or the Sudan, and that's how you get the Badan or the Badani. Because if you catch what I just said, right? Y'all all know who the Badani is, right?
What's that again? The Budani?
No, who's
The
that?
Badani, yeah. So you really got to get volume 2
of Calhoun.
No. You gotta get volume 2 of Spears of the Mossy volume 2 because we talk about that in 2, 3. Did we do it in 4? We might have did it in 4 and 5. Kamir Sutek was fucking with that shit heavy. But he just put the answer in the chat.
Yo, y'all was all up that shit. But nah, man,
Yeah,
I like some of those books though that you got, man, for real.
He put it in the chat.
Okay.
The Badani is the whites.
Okay. I got.
But now let me explain it because remember, we ain't talking about race. Remember, I said what? Culture. So for them, they looked at it from a cultural perspective. So the Badani, meaning that white or purity in this instance, if for our sake of conversation, whites, purity, culture. So if your culture was similar to their culture, you would be considered a Budani. If your culture was the opposite of their culture, then you would be Sudani.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Balad al-Sudan.
Right. Hence the name Balad al-Sudan in West Africa. But then they also had the Sudan for East Africa. Right? The whole shit, the Sudanic was to refer to where you would enter those particular areas. Mm-hmm. And then, they raped Egypt. You know what I'm saying? Like some of those people that some of those people that been there are still there prior to the Arabs, but they're in pockets and they have went in other directions. But that presence of those Arabs, those New Age Egyptians, that's why it's called the Arab Republic of Egypt. They ain't the people who they think that they are. But no, those motherfuckers used culture to separate distinctions from us and them. And then that negative stereotype influenced a lot of problems that we already had with the North Africans because they believed that they were more closely related to the Mediterranean people or the people up there in the Mediterranean, which would be the Europeans on the other side of that water, and they would have more ties into the Mediterranean because that's what they see. Yeah. They see a lot of shit in the Mediterranean. The Mediterranean is not the Atlantic. It's shallow.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So all of that
trade too between other, that was just a heavily traded area, man.
There you go. Yeah. But we didn't have to go up to that to do trade or do business like that. A lot of times, a lot of people was ignorant of that trade up there.
Right.
Until you get to a period of the Iberian Peninsula where they sending ISs through there through trade, selling ISs off. Those North Africans was doing a hell of a job of orchestrating the Iberian. But you put up a map earlier. And what I was trying to say in the chat is the first route from the north comes down like it's drawing a line down the center of Africa. If you look at the continent as a whole, that comes into the first point of West Africa, well, what would be northwest central Africa, if we're talking directional. That would be prominent because there was Jews on that route, along with those first Arabs, but they stayed away because they didn't want to come into their territory where them blacks were.
Right.
See, they say all of this shit, and we ignore them, like they tell on themselves.
Yeah, and we cannot underestimate how long it took them to cross that fucking Sahara Desert to get over there, because there was a difference between the two. apparently. But once they learn how to get across that shit, they just influence with the trade. Because you see trade routes. I didn't realize how many trade routes was going to North Africa like that. I'm like,
Bro, come on, man. Everything. Listen,
that shit was
everything at one period of point, everything had to come through that.
Yeah, because this
converts who wanted to be prominent had to make what?
Yeah,
they had to make Hajj.
Yeah. Yeah.
But they also, guess what? When the Arabs were early ruling Egypt, when people wanted to expand their kingdoms, who you think they had to go get permission from? Y'all know?
Who, the caliphs?
No. Any West African king, who do you think they had to go get permission from in order to expand their kingdom?
I mean, if it was an Islamic state, they probably had they had to go to the caliph, right?
They had to go back to Egypt.
Oh, okay. Was that like the Mecca?
Mansa Musa, his trip, to Egypt, the so-called supposed to be great Hajj that he was taking, was to go get permission to expand his political capital and prowess in his area. He wanted to move his kingdom, spread his kingdom further into other areas. He needed permission.
So they mounted themselves there.
Come on, bro. Everything had to run through. We talking about them. We talking Mansa Musa in the 13th century.
That's right.
These mofos been building on their shit since the 6th, 7th century.
Yeah.
So you gotta come see me, bro, if you want to do your business.
Right.
But that word got way to West Africa.
Okay, and this is after he converted.
Who,
Musa?
Yeah.
In the 13th century, bro, all of them were practicing Muslims.
Yeah,
the ones that really wasn't was secretly. All right. So when I got two faces, you know how we code switch. You know how we got a code switch.
Yeah.
Look at it like that. That's the best example that I can give you to help you catch it like immediately.
Yeah.
West Africans were code switchers.
Yeah. Sunni Ali was one of those that was like, right. Yeah, but Askia Muhammad, he was full Muslim. He was like, "Fuck it, I'm gonna."
We don't get no pressure about being a motherfucking Muslim until you deal with Askia Muhammad, because he supersedes the last Askia on some usurp type shit. Because the last Askia, he sent him all the way. Oh man, don't let me tell y'all that story. Let me be quiet, bro. That's in another book, bro.
Hey,
let me be quiet.
Come on, we gonna do a part 2, dog.
Cliffhanger.
No, I got bro. The whole Askia story. Look, I did a whole story on Askia. I think that's in volume 3.
Yeah, he changed the
4?
game. Didn't he? Like that shit was more Islamized when they.
Come on, bro. Hell yeah. It was no longer because they was looking at niggas weird.
Yeah.
It's like talking about us and shit. Still talking about we going to the bush. Yeah, they don't know that we know at night that they go to the bush and do all of that spiritual shit.
Yeah.
You can't serve two masters type shit.
I think he used it, but he was like, all right, this ain't, he ain't take that shit serious. Like,
Niggas, and none of them niggas was taking that shit serious at first, bro. Askia Muhammad was the first ass kisser who took that shit serious and got us body and was getting niggas body bag behind it.
Yeah.
Well, he was doing the body bagging. Because you'll see him a lot. You'll see him a lot with the Moxie.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
It's beef. It's up.
The Tuareg and shit.
The Tuareg is kind of a difficult situation. They were more so just like the Berbers.
Or the Tuareg was in the blue veil. Who was the blue veil?
Them the blue boys.
Okay, the blues. Okay.
Yeah, the Tuareg is the blue people.
I got you.
Now they were taxi drivers. Well, Danny called them the
now, was Ubers. The dudes wearing the veils and shit? Were those the ones where the dudes was wearing the veils and shit on their face?
All of them started around that time. But you remember, you got two different Tuareg, right? You got the Berber Tuaregs, which was the predominant Tuaregs, and then you had West African converts that were Tuareg, that was part of the blue people.
Okay.
But you would still see the slaves and shit. West Africa's tricky.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of shit that transpired in West Africa.
Yeah, that's true.
That
It's
if
just
you
a
walk
little
the timeline wrong, you're gonna fuck it up.
yeah.
What's your take on? Yeah. Sute call them the caravan. I call them the taxi. Yeah, they would the Uber.
The
You need
caravan.
to get somewhere. The Touareg can get you from one trade route to another if you coming through the Sahara.
Okay.
Yeah, man. But when y'all do part two, I'll be listening. I was waiting on y'all to do it. I wanted to see what y'all was gonna come with. Some of the sources I'm trying to see if I got any PDFs.
Yeah. Because I didn't have a lot, man. I just came across a couple of my books, man, where I just built my Islamic book selection, man, within like the last 2-3 months. Because I didn't have a lot of work on it. It's hard to find good books with good shit in them.
Nah, that's why I said if you get my book, like the sources that I got in my book,
I got you.
Will help you be able to get some stuff that'll be cynical to it because a lot of West African history in that period, well, in the most prominent periods, is when they start writing. As far as oral traditions, there's an African literature book that I'm gonna put my that I can give you. I'll put my email in here. You can email me, and I'll send you like a book or two.
All right, bet.
That'll deal with like the folklore and stuff like that, and then you'll see that. But it's a timeline. That timeline starts east and then works its way west slowly.
Right. Mm-hmm. You
Because
gotta
you got to think, Islam is not there in West Africa in the 7th century. Hold up, let me make sure I'm not lying. I think it's not the 7th, 8th, or 9th. I think we start seeing it around the 10th, the late 9th, 10th century.
On the West Coast.
West Africa.
On the West Coast, yeah.
Yeah. Late 9th, 10th century. I think that's accurate.
Yeah, you got to look at the East and you got to look at that Red Sea and the Indian Ocean trade and shit too, because there was this Orient trade.
But it wasn't as big or lavish as motherfuckers were thinking, bro. They really, you know what I mean? And then you remember earlier I said things about the charms.
Yeah.
Those charms are unique because there's some stone, different type of stone, which would serve as archaeological evidence for the presence of Islam. And then, like I said, those burial sites, those bones with the pigs, all of that stuff is key because we can tell when it was and when it wasn't. So shout out to people who took the time out to do that work. But yeah, man, I ain't gonna hold y'all bill up. I know y'all got some beating up to do.
Yeah, man, we gonna keep pushing.
And I get that book out ASAP.
Yeah, man, I got you, man. I'll be waiting, man. I'll look at it.
Yeah, post office on Monday. So.
All right.
I'm gonna probably use your shit.
I know.
on part 3 of my book. I ain't get to Islam yet. I'm doing both. I'm doing all Abrahamic faiths, but I think by part 3 of my book, I'm gonna be studying that so I can use that shit on part 3.
Yeah, it'll be a shortcut. A lot of the information provided in the book will be a shortcut, so it won't take you a long way. And since you say you're doing religion, it's some in the coming of Islam in Bilal al-Sudan, there's some verses up out of the Quran or the Hadith. I think I used the Hadith and the Quran. I think there's some verses that I specifically placed in the book to validate the argument. So just let me know what y'all think about it too, man. You know what I mean? And yeah. So for the listener audience, I don't know if you dropped it in the chat because we can't. Anyone interested in that book as well? Maybe one of y'all can drop that link in there.
Your joint. Let me copy.
I'm gonna put it. You drop the link in there.
Is it in there?
I'm gonna put it in the private chat. Yeah, you have to copy from the private chat and drop it in the YouTube.
I'm gonna drop it. I don't know if y'all get that or no?
I can see
I
it.
see. Well, I seen where you posted it.
Probably can't click it though. I'm assuming. I don't know if that's gonna allow y'all to click it from my end.
If you well, if you hold up.
Let me see. I don't know. I gotta.
Yeah. It's blue. It's
Okay.
blue on the YouTube side.
All
So
right,
if they
bet.
clicked on it, on the YouTube side, they can be able to go to it.
Bet. Go ahead and support my man. Get that joint. And
Yeah, I really don't even promote the book, yo. It's been out for a while, and I just be kind of sitting on it because sometimes
do that,
we be
man.
waiting on responses. We don't be getting no responses from our books, yo. Like we be waiting on them dudes that want to, you know what I mean? Because a lot of times, Sutek and myself, Kofi and Satepara, and now Chavis, a lot of things like I might do some on the Abos. I don't know yet. I was thinking about like putting together like a book, dealing with the contradictions and the
Yeah, I was thinking about the
misrepresentation of
same
history
thing.
and stuff like that. So
I
if
was,
you are, bro, if
but
you're thinking about doing that book,
I just didn't want it to be too goofy. I was like, because some of this shit is so simple, and it's like, damn. But then it makes you
well,
think about.
you gotta deal with it, bro. Take
Yeah.
a claim. Like, look, take like, and I don't care if we share this idea because it's really everybody. You got to take like their claims, right? And you could do a chapter on each claim. So if you just take their top 10 claims
Mm-hmm.
and whatever historical document that they use to argue to reverse it, and then you got to make sure you got the claim in there. Where you got it from, you can cite YouTube or whatever, but you cite it correctly, and then just beat it up for that chapter.
Mm-hmm.
And you do that for each claim. You can put something together. Now you might be dealing with multiple claims in one chapter, but bro, I'm telling you, it is. I'm thinking about it. So because I'm putting too much energy into. Usually when I put this much energy into something, I write.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Like I just shut you. I go out. I get away from YouTube, and then
Disappear
I
for a
just
minute.
yeah. And when I come back, I got a whole damn book. And when I come back, I got a book. But I listen. These shows that y'all are doing, I don't know how you do your description, but if you organize your shows and the description in your videos, all your content that you have, as long as you source that information and you ain't got to go chase that back down and provide it,
Mm-hmm.
that helps in research. That helps in your writing and being able to source your material that can keep you from having writer's block.
Right. Uh-huh.
But if you don't organize it, then it halts, your progression because now you're taking 2 or 3 hours out of your day to go and look for that information to add it to your book so that you can continue to move forward in your writing. So we just have to keep cataloging our material so that it makes it easier for us to not have that writer's block, to not lose sight or focus of what inspired us to write, and to be consistent. Because if we don't tell these stories, if we don't document this story correctly, 20 years from now, they're gonna be on the same thing. Right? We might be fighting this 5-year, 10-year battle, or whatever the case, but 20 years from now, or 30 years from now, when you no longer living and you had an opportunity to change history, did you do it?
That's right.
Facts.
Motherfucking right.
And I said that.
I'm gonna say I was fucking there, fighting, swinging, trying to put this shit out for the people, man. Doing
Right.
the best we can, holding the line.
And there was a lot of shit that we let slide in the last 10 years. Because I know I've been hearing about this shit. And I thought it was harmless. And I even told Suiton, I was like, leave that shit alone, man. They just, some people got Indians in their family and they losing their blackness, and that's it. They'll get back to it. And this shit is extreme now. It's like I'm not African at all. And life started over here, and we spread out around the world, and we built all the pyramids and all this crazy shit. It's like, oh, whoa. But being quiet and letting people just believe what they want, that shit becomes dangerous.
Yeah,
I totally underestimated that shit. Start popping off with it.
Yo, I totally underestimated that shit. I didn't know how crazy this shit was gonna get. I'm gonna be real.
All of us did. Even though we were fighting the fight to reject the information, we really didn't. So now this nigga on a live stream with Rob Bourne, Con Calloway says, I wrote a book. And I'm over here like, this nigga wrote a book? All this dumb shit he's saying, and he talking about slave trade reverse. He put that shit in a book.
That's crazy.
Even though he's going to court about the cover and some other shit in the book, I'm like, this the most. But you got to realize, listen, ladies and gentlemen, fucking, what's his name is in jail for raping babies and being a cult leader. The one thing he can actually project from jail and go visit Egypt and shit. Malachi York. He has books
out there. Whew.
So I want to show you. I'm right, but my point is this:
all of it is
the most craziest people that we've ever encountered has books. So now you have to distinguish the validity of that book, because anyone can say, now I got a book, but what makes the information in your book accurate? You got to be the one to be able to discern that. So it's that dangerous now. So that's why we counter argue. You know what I'm saying? And there's courses that we can either take, there's writing lessons that we can even take that help us perfect counter arguing claims. And people don't know that. Like, I realistically studied counter arguing claims just so I can become a better writer when I'm writing against a lot of this shit, because my motivation was to inspire the truth, to tell the truth, and to promote the truth, and to argue it the best way that I could argue it, and then improve in each time that I write. But what am I doing? Because we got too many fucking liars among us. There's too many liars among us. But yeah, he said he got a book and told Rob on that shit. I damn near dropped my phone.
That's crazy.
I was like, yeah, it's like this nigga. How the fuck is he?
That happened in reverse shit,
man.
Yeah, man. A whole bunch of shit.
Yeah, he got that and some genealogy books.
Yeah, that's what we deal with on TikTok. It happened in reverse.
Yup, every single day we go live. What was about like 6, 7 o'clock, right in between that time, all throughout the week. We get up there, ask the strong ass questions. They pop up there, and somewhere in it, they say you got to dodge the hijack. It happened in reverse. And it's like you keep saying this shit over and over and over, and it's coming from that Camario and Dane Calloway dude, and it's inside of their head, like it's becoming a religion. Because they're chanting this shit over and over. They get in their lives. It's like they church, and they're in there hypnotizing themselves with it. At this point, it don't need to make sense. It's like Jesus dying on the cross and the kingdom of David's kingdom and aliens and coming down and mating with people. It doesn't have to be real or make sense now, because you're hypnotized by it. Mm-hmm. So they get up there, no matter how many times we peel a wig back with the facts and put up the sources. They're like, well, y'all just mad because y'all, trying to hide the truth and you're agents. Their heads are messed up. Now we're the devil. The truth becomes evil, right? When you believe a lie, the truth becomes the lie to you. So that's how they do it. They flip their shit in reverse, and they're just sitting there chanting it. So that's what we got to have something to counter it. And unfortunately, that's just how that shit works. You can't get rid of them. They got the freedom of speech. They can just go publish a book, and that's the type of world we live in. We got Bibles, Torahs, and Qurans and shit, and these are just like the subcategories of these other cults that we have. It's the same thing. They just building up and they putting their own little spin on it.
And imagine like some of these motherfuckers like don't have the historical literacy like we do, and they just read one book for the first time. It could be a Dane Calloway book and fuck their head all the way up. And like that might spark their little conscience or whatever they think is the conscience.
Yeah, that's dangerous, bro. You just scared the shit out of me.
It's just crazy. But it's like that though, man. Wow.
A Dane Calloway book, boy. I done got stupid.
Dumb. Like what if these kids like picking this shit up for the first time? cutting African out, putting it to the side, and that's the first book they read, and they think that's
Go Pete.
Had a couple of young niggas pull up to the live. They like 18, 19 years old, talking about this whole shit is fake. You're not done. You just took your first breath and finished drinking milk for the first time. And you talking about something, none of this stuff happened. It's all fake. Slave trade started here, and all of us were already in America, and DNA is fake. Like, damn, nigga, you not playing basketball and reading, a goosebump. Like, what were you doing? You just woke up and saw a damn YouTube video. I know you ain't read that many goddamn books. Ain't no way in the world you was going to school and doing all of this research to reverse everything in science and history. There's no way. They looking at actual just TikTok or YouTube videos, and they're becoming other people now. It will totally, completely change your identity. We're living in the most dangerous time in history. Like, the stuff we going over, there was a lot of work, a lot of groundwork and sweating and running around people had to do to take your mind from you. Now today, they just pick up their device and program their damn self, just staring at a damn screen, and now you ain't black no more. Now you're not African. Now you're not even an earthling no more. Now they come from outer space, like just off of staring at your phone.
Lumerians, nigga. Draconians and reptilians.
Activated.
Galactic Federations and shit.
Yeah, it's dangerous, bro. The whole alien narrative, though, is super dangerous, yo.
I don't even want
that just means you giving a whole nother species, a whole nother whatever the fuck we want to call them, credence over any type of advancement you've made as a human being on this planet we call Earth. You just strip yourself of all of that to become nothing. Reduce yourself down to basically almost nothing. And we're supposed to accept that. The audacity of these dudes, yo. Just like the Ali Muhammad stuff. You know what I mean? He got approached, he got corrected on that whole he couldn't find the white lion shit. What he does, he doubles down and makes a community post and brings up a different argument and talk about skewed numbers or something trying to challenge the methodology of slave voyages. That ain't the fuck how you do that.
Mm-hmm.
And he did it anyway.
In the middle of us gathering it. That's why I can't get past that. How are we in the middle of developing, getting the numbers, getting the estimates, looking through different sources that we haven't seen before? We still excavating, looking in the waters, tracing people's past where they went at. We in the middle of doing that, and they like, all the numbers are messed up. We're not done.
They ain't even look, bro. We know for a fact of 12.5 million. And that's according to all of those motherfuckers, insurance files and claims, shipping documents, which are primary sources that are all cataloged. The Portuguese, the Spanish, the Dutch, the British, them having a panhandle on everything that was going in these other countries. And then you're talking about what is ships? Bro, they were burying ships. Why do you think they finding them on the seaboard? And they finding, all kind of other evidence. Like, yo, all right, here's an example of what I mean. So the Juan Bautista boat, right? The famous boat. It's a prominent boat for us. Why? Because this is the first time that Africans get hijacked from privateers or pirates in the Caribbean, and then show up in the Americas, 1619. Yeah. Now they show up in the Americas earlier than that in the 1500s. Mm-hmm. But I'm talking about when I say America, I'm talking about the United States of America. Jamestown, 1619. The White Lion and the Treasurer are privateers. They sit in the Caribbean to hijack. Mm-hmm. They put a full jack move. Mm-hmm. The Juan Bautista boat had 350 passengers on it. Well, The passengers were all from Angola. They were slaves. 203 of them died. 147 of them they survived. But the White Lion and the treasurer split what was remaining on the ship a piece apart because they sold the Batista had already sold some of the fuckers in the Caribbeans, near Jamaica. So now they get 30 and they get 30. The treasurer get 30. The White Lion get 30. They saying that these numbers is fake. They got the number 30. Why would you stop at 30? On both ships off of a known hijacked and manifest. Then they get sold in Jamestown. Both, bro. With the White Lions being the first 30 sold. And then they labeled them as indentured servants.
Yeah. And look, you have record of Peter Stuyvesant doing the same shit. Because he was
man.
A marquee or let us a mark to try to do that shit. Yeah.
That show that I did on the Mossy, refuting him, then True Story and come behind that and tying the whole Spanish Main shit up with that.
Oh man.
That's curtains. Like that show, it's a few hours. But when you go through that, and then when we get to talking about the Spanish Main and he was at work, so he's doing it in parts. But when he gets the opportunity to really speak on that shit, and he speaks on it for like 30 minutes, and you sit there and listen to that, and then you go back to what I basically just said, he tied the whole shit to what just transpired, bro.
Yeah, truth be on point.
What's the title of it?
Shout out. Yeah. What's the title?
The title of that show is something about Ali Muhammad, yo. I said Ali Muhammad caught lying again. It's like 3 shows back.
Caught lying again?
Yes. Hold on. I'm gonna drop the link. Live. Oh yeah, Ali Muhammad. It's the last live. It's Ali Muhammad caught lying again, and I tagged him a few days ago, 2 days ago.
Yeah.
Yo, the information, bro. Of course, I got sources in the description, but yeah, I just put it in the private chat too. So if you want to plug that in the chat, they can watch that shit. But that's gonna be because y'all gonna get that argument on watch. I guarantee you. Y'all gonna be on fucking TikTok and somebody gonna come to y'all and say that dumb shit.
Oh yeah, we gonna fucking had a fucking Thule waiting for him.
Y'all gonna walk right into that stupid shit.
Yeah,
that's why I'll be. Hey, look. That's why I don't have no patience for them when they come up here trying to and being nice. Nah, I'm cussing your ass out. I ain't got no smoke.
Like nope. You don't got time.
You got a source. Shut the hell up, then.
Yeah.
Right.
And now we at the point where as soon as you say a couple of words, we already know you full of shit.
Right.
Just by how you started off. And they like, you ain't letting me talk. Well, nigga, we know exactly what the fuck you about to say.
Right. Like you dumb, nigga. You got the same playbook, bro. Same dumbass playbook, bro.
I would keep hearing that stupid ass shit over and over.
Yeah, yo, the patience is wearing
right.
Him, yo.
It'd be different if they didn't call us out though. Them niggas was calling us out, talking mad shit. Then we just pulled up the information and they got real fucking quiet.
Man, quiet.
Damn niggas pussy.
Quiet. It would be fun if they come back with some shit and we can have this back and forth and this, like in my mind, that's what I thought. But they just left and started arguing amongst themselves. It was the weirdest shit.
Under the bus and everything. That shit was crazy.
Damn, they imploded. But whatever. We're gonna keep doing what we're doing, and it's for the family, man.
Yeah, man. I'm gonna hop my ass back in the chat, man. I appreciate y'all tapping in.
I got your book, man.
Yeah, I'm gonna sign it and send it ASAP. Anybody copy it, I'm signing and sending it. So, I'm one of those people that sign their books.
That's what
I got you.
Man, thanks for stopping by then, bro. Everybody follow Mossy Warrior.
Yeah, y'all make sure y'all follow Sue Tech on TikTok also.
Sue Tech, shout out to Sue Tech. All y'all, man. We gotta push this shit together
so we can get them to the thousands. So he can go live.
It's a pan push. You going on TikTok tonight, bro?
Yeah, but y'all just let me know when.
Well, go ahead, man. I'm gonna go ahead. I'll shut it down. That way I can get you. You can go ahead and get this shit rolling. And,
well, we talking about the same shit.
We can, cause we can run the presentations on their ass, and you know they're gonna start coming in crying and bitching about whatever, and we just push their shit back. Like, nah, fuck you. It is what it is. But
I'm gonna just leave my shit open.
Yeah.
Just keep talking. I'm just turn the screen on your.
But yeah, we go now. We get it early. Get it early in. And shit. But yeah, family. Everybody, y'all can close out, man. I hope everybody enjoyed the presentations that me and Mo put out there for you guys. Shout out to Mossy for coming on in. Sean, man, you always welcome to come on, stop by anytime, bro. Appreciate you. If you guys haven't seen his book, go ahead and get his joint. And get Mo's book too. Mo got a book too. We book writers over here, so go ahead and support the team. We appreciate the support that you guys have been giving us. We're on week 13 with this show, so we ain't gonna stop. We're gonna continue to keep delivering the integrity of his story to you guys. So, fellas, go ahead and close out. And
y'all, thanks for showing up once again. Make sure y'all paying attention to how this stuff is presented, because it can catch you from any type of angle. It ain't gonna just be Islam and Christianity and the slave trade. It's all types of tricky stuff out there. The health schemes and all types of the law schemes. They use the same technique. They full of shit. They tell you some shit that they know you really don't understand, and then flip it on you. And once you go do the proper research, you're going to see that they lying. It's easily to show that they capping in. A lot of them hide. You got some idiots that jump up and get their head pushed in, and they do it a couple times, mostly for money. But most of them just hide out and spark a little argument, and then try to get some of the crowd over there to their little corner so they can brainwash them and shit. So you got to watch out for these things all across the board, man. But thanks for the support. We're going to see y'all in the TikTok streets where the zombies at, shit in a little bit. Peace, y'all. Stay black.
Yeah, y'all. Just tune in. All I can say is, y'all like anything that y'all seen by Port Mo, screen recorded, posted on the TikTok. Thanks for the support. If y'all feel like y'all want to donate, I think Port. I don't think nobody put there it go. Y'all can donate to Port City's Cash App. Y'all can hit Mo's Cash App. I don't know if my Cash App is in the chat, but I didn't do no work today. So if y'all don't feel like hitting me up, just hit Mo and Mo Facts up. Normally Lily put it in the chat, but Lily she got a new job and stuff. So
Lily.
Yeah, we're gonna have to have somebody else put the stuff in the chat. But hey, y'all get ready for she said okay, she said all the cash. Okay, that's cool. Beatrice. Yeah, she be getting them. Miss Calhoun be getting them books, y'all. I seen like just like 2 shelves of her whole library.
Oh,
so
she been stacking.
Yeah. I'm like, hey, let me hold this book real quick.
She's gonna come. Look, one day she's just gonna come on the line. She's like, I'm ready.
Right.
Because that shit.
I already know. She's like, yeah, let me at them. Yeah, y'all get ready for the TikTok. I'm probably going 35 minutes, and then we be up and running on the TikTok. So I'll get at y'all later.
Facts, man. Thanks for stopping by, my brother. Appreciate you as
well. All right, bro.
Make sure y'all follow Suit on TikTok so y'all can catch the rest of this push, man. Thank you all for stopping by on volume 13 of How Islam Enslaved Black Africa. We was putting Islam on trial. Islam is on trial. Special apologies for anybody who got the little feelings hurt. You know, it is what it is. We don't sugarcoat history over here. So meet us on TikTok if you guys want any to smoke. You guys are cordially invited to the smoking section over there. Continue to hit the like. We got 20 in the building. Please hit the like button. That keeps the algorithm going. Thank you for supporting me at portcityvibe.com and for the cash apps. Everybody, you guys are wonderful. Thank you guys, all of the day ones. Shout out to Patrice, Val B, Miss Brown, I see you. Everybody that stopped in, Taylor, People Nation, everybody, the Mossy clan stopped by, all y'all. We appreciate everybody, and we're gonna keep it going. Meet us on TikTok, everybody. We're gonna get over there. I'm gonna leave you guys with the intro music like I always do. I might push around later. Y'all will see me, y'all might not. Everybody take care. I appreciate y'all.
Let us rub.
I ain't scared of you motherfuckers. I'm gonna tell you something straight off the motherfucking press. I ain't coming for no foolishness. I ain't scared of you motherfuckers. I'm gonna tell you something straight off the motherfucking press. I ain't coming for no foolishness.